Welcome to Warcraft Reloaded, a podcast brought to you by Mash Those Buttons, covering World of Warcraft Classic and its community. I am Bobby, also known as Blazin' Bob. We have no Mel today, but we do have an awesome cast. First off, we have Simon Eyes coming back to the show. Welcome, sir.
Hello, my name is Simon Eyes. I'm a rogue specialist. I like PvE and World of Warcraft. Been playing all of Classic. Happy to be back.
Happy to have you every time. And then Scotty J is back.
Hi. Yeah, extremely hungover, ready to talk. Let's do it.
And welcome back to the show. It's been a while. Willie, welcome back.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, thank you once again. It's I guess it has been a little bit since I've been on, but yeah, glad to be here. And imagine for a topic which you didn't even know you were going to do until a few days ago on the cast.
That's usually how the show goes. But everybody gets their first reactions out. Like, this will be a little bit later, but I kind of like that. Like, it gives time to sink in and really think about it. Plus, my bumper that, do I look like I know what a WoW token is, was true. I had to actually educate myself on how it all worked because it came out. So, yeah. All right. Well, guys, we're gonna start off I'd like to start off the show by thanking our tank patrons in Thick Lizzie, Croxford, Braxton, and Turtle Whale. We're gonna start the show with a voicemail. Then we're gonna go on to what we have been doing. Then we're gonna actually skip right to discussion and talk about the WoW token, and then whatever time allows, we will cover the some of the other news. But I just don't know how long it's going to be, and I can't promise we will hit all of the news topics. But that's going to be the show for today. So we got 3 voicemails, but I don't know if this crowd is really the best. 2 of them were about hardcore. So Simon has been playing hardcore a bunch lately, but I don't know, Scotty, if you've ever done it. Have you?
Yeah. The when the hype around it was massive, like a year ago during TBC. I've not done it this time round. I haven't got the patience.
What about
all I want to do is raid.
Yeah, I skipped it during TBC because I was trying to focus on the expansion at that point in time. But now in Wrath, it's kind of downtime for me, and I'm a big vanilla leveling and enjoyer. So I don't really stream, so you can't tell I'm doing it. But I have got a hunter at level 60, and I've been trying to level up a mage AoE farming, which is it's hard.
Okay.
Just 10 minutes before this, I was at Goshek farm in Arathi, just like praying I get a health potion drop, because every pull you can die.
Yeah, that sounds dangerous. I mean, every pull you're doing something where like you make a mistake and you're dead if you're trying to AoE level as a mage.
Yeah, because I did the mage to 60 back in vanilla, and I know if you play the regular way where you take frostbite and just frostbolt stuff, it's really safe. But it's also it's not the most exciting either. So I thought, I'll try the AoE route, and even though I died twice at level 20, I literally got level 20 twice in a row, and then started to AoE stuff about Blink and died, and I was like, why am I doing this? Anyway, I trained Blink. It turns out it's pretty good. I'm level 34, I think. But yeah, I don't know how far I'll go because I feel like I might get bored of it eventually. But yeah, no, I've been having a lot of fun with hardcore.
Okay. Well, then I will play them. Okay. Yeah. Speaking of hardcore, I talked to Go and I was like, hey, let's make a date once a week where we have 4 hours to like work on a hardcore duo. Just for fun. And then Go just comes out and he's like, yeah, and we can see how many dungeons we could 2-man. And I was like, okay, dude, we're not going to have like any gear. I don't know that like we're going to be 2-manning, but I mean, I guess I'll maybe, I don't know, mage or something, mage and druid. I don't know. So he's like just taking it to the extreme. And I'm like, okay, well, we'll give it a try.
I've done that in TBC. Didn't get past Dead Mines. There was 2 of us. Yeah, we literally died about halfway through Dead Mines and then gave up on that dream.
That's what I think is going to happen with us. But I mean, if Go wants to try it, we'll try it. Why not?
I was watching another guy, Subtle. He plays Paladin a lot. He was playing hardcore, and he was leveling up to the maximum level allowed for each dungeon, and then soloing it.
Yep.
And he
Oh.
made it up, and he finally died in Nomergon. And he like did everything before. He just like get to the max level and solo the dungeon as his hardcore paladin. I thought that was pretty cool.
He's like the paladin. He's like the version of you as paladin tank, though. You know, like
he knows a
it's-
lot about paladin.
it's a step. Like I don't know that I can do that type of stuff. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, he's been on the show I think twice. Yeah, great guy, great guy. Okay, well let's go ahead and play.
Hey, Mel and Bob. This is Odonis from Benediction. I just had a quick question about hardcore. What do you think stopping Blizzard from maybe putting in not like a microtransactions, but like another shop where it would be like $15 revive your hardcore character? You know, because in my opinion, the whole hardcore thing, it'll be very popular for a bit and then it will kind of casually fall off. So, I mean, what's going to stop Blizzard from, you know, them being like, hey, this is something we can profit off of. Let's try to make some money. Just a quick thought that I had while I was driving my car. I'm driving to the gym right now, but yeah, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts on that. Like I said, you know, Blizzard maybe adding a few things, but one thing that came to mind specifically was being able to revive your hardcore character for like $10, you know, because imagine you get to 60 and you farmed all your pre-raid bits and then you die and, you know, doing like a Skolo Man's helping out your friends. It's like, what's stopping you? Or what's stopping Blizzard from being like, hey, you can revive your character for $10, you know? Have you spent like 60 hours farming?
All right, so we cut him off, but yeah, I think if you want to see riots in the streets, you know, they could do that, like maybe.
Yeah, I mean, what's stopping them? Nothing. I mean, I think they add a lot of things like this, where it's like community doesn't really like it, but it makes them money, and they evaluate like the money gained is, you know, worth more than the, you know, loss in faith from the community, and like, yeah, maybe they'll just make a lot of money from doing that, or maybe the loss would be way too big, and they'd evaluate that as not worth it.
Yeah, it's kind of.
I think that's next level. That's just absolutely ludicrous. I've not even got words.
Yeah, I don't think they go that far. I mean, the WoW token when we'll get onto it. There are some ways we can sort of justify it as not being completely outrageous. Okay, not that I particularly want it in the game for what it's worth, but there are some ways you can justify it. Like putting $10 to res your character is that's a bit much. I don't think they'd do that.
Yeah, I think there'd be riots in the streets. Now, what's cool, and I will link this in the show notes, is last night I was watching F's and Chat Wiki's show where they watch death clips, and I sent this voicemail over to them, and they played it on the show and actually answered it too. So if you're interested in that, it's season 4, episode 2, and I will link it in the show notes. So you should check out their answer. But they made a good point that like they could see. They said that there's no way Blizzard would ever they don't think ever allow that to happen, but they could throw in a $10 to $15 option that when your character dies, you can transfer it to a regular server. And I was like, that is something they could definitely do and like probably make some money off of.
Mhm.
Yeah, that would make sense.
Yeah, I can see that as much more realistic.
All right. Well,
I think they're just, if they let you transfer, just let you transfer, similar to how it was on, I guess at the end of Season of Mastery.
Mm-hmm.
They'll let you just transfer them for free, because the alternative is you never play that character again. So you could be losing someone by not letting them, by, you know, putting a paywall up. That might not make sense.
Yeah, I screwed up. I moved my level 60 hardcore rogue and level 60 hardcore druid and I didn't move them to like classic era. I moved them to like Pagel or something like that. And so I was like, man, I could have maybe got in on raids. That was dumb. Like, oh well, but I'll just have to work up another one. All right, well, here's the next one. And this one's a little spicy.
Hey, Bob and Mel. I have a question. Well, it's more regarding the hardcore side, because last week you did the hardcore one. I made a paladin. I got him to level 13. I went AFK inside the inn of in Lochmodan. I don't know what's the place called. Because I had to go take a quick piss. I come back and I'm dead. There's a shadow digger just absolutely destroying my ass. I got 2 screenshots of it. One of them I'm dead, and one I'm targeting the NPC inside the inn. I sent those to make an appeal in the hardcore official Discord. Mine got denied because I shouldn't be AFK inside an inn. But the other person below me got looked at by another mod, and he did get his death appeal approved for grieving. What's your guys' opinion on this? In my opinion, it should be looked different at.
Okay, so just to let everybody know, for hardcore, if you've not played it, there is currently a appeal process that has just got insane because it's blown up so much. These mods are doing a lot of work to try and do this, but I reached out to Winky just to make sure my answer was right, and my answer was spot on. But can you guys guess why this was turned down?
Because as a hardcore player, he absolutely should have had a bottle next to the desk.
Good answer.
Yeah.
I think they don't do appeals below level 15 or something. It's like if you screwed up below level 15, it's just like, too bad, we're not going to deal with it. I think they require video evidence as well.
Okay, Willie?
Yeah, I thought there was a level cap on it. Other than that, I don't see why one person would be treated differently than the other unless it was someone else looking at it who thinks a different way.
There was one key word or acronym, AFK. If you are AFK in any appeal period, you are not going to get it.
No.
AFK is a no-go. It doesn't matter where you're at. AFK, they will never tell you can like they will never overturn anything. And that's just because, I mean, you were at an inn. I mean, slash camp, go take a whiz and then come back. You know, it's a hard lesson learned the first time you die because you AFK'd and thought you could run. Like I died once with Mel. I was on follow. I went to go fill my drink. I could see the monitor from where I was, but I didn't get back in time, and I freaked out. And then we died at level 35. Wow. So yeah, it's a hard lesson learned, but you log out when you go AFK. It's like a hard, fast rule. But yeah, just to let anybody know, they're just not going to overturn that. But Wiki sent me a bunch of appeals, and I guess they are doing ones that are lower level, like I guess maybe if they have time or something. But like they definitely did overturn like a level 14 person that got griefed in the same way, but he was outside and like he had a chance. Like if you're AFK, like it literally is your fault anytime you are AFK, period. So yeah,
but I don't see there being any appeal process in official Classic Hardcore when it comes out. So you might as well get used to logging out now.
Yeah, and the mods are super happy about that.
I agree with you. There's a zero shot that there's an appeal process for deaths on official servers.
And if there was, it'd take 6 months for them to answer. So
yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, we'll play this one last one. And this is from our friend. He's probably been in every single one of your chats, although Willie doesn't stream, but Mega Man sent one in.
Hello. Bob, Scotty, and Willie. Don't use the last one, Bob. Use this one. I'm a little brain scattered right now because I've been trying to get all my thoughts on the token in my head. So my biggest thing I'd say about the token.
Oh wait, hold on. Maybe we'll just play this. We'll just play this when we talk about the token. I just thought about it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, that's probably a better idea. All right. And just to let you guys know, the number to call in for the voicemails is 816-866-1066, or go to speakpipe.com/Warcraft Reloaded. What have you guys been doing in WoW?
I can start because mine will be as quick as it is every single time I'm on here. Raiding.
Three
literally.
characters raided. Four now. Okay.
Four characters. Full hard mode clears every week on all four. Obviously done a lot of PTR as well, so cleared. Yeah, heroic on the PTR. Refined our strategies. Been putting together our raid sheet that we're going to use for it. Honestly, literally outside of that, I re-rolled main alt since I was on here last. It was a feral druid. It's now a hunter, and I got absolute full bis every single slot in 3 resets.
Wow,
that is some luck.
Lucky.
Yeah, that is luck. Yeah.
I mean, our other hunter, which we've only got one main hunter, or only had one main hunter at the time, was obviously full bis already anyway. So it was just everything was going to me by default. But yeah,
No,
I'm
but
having a lot of fun on the hunter.
There's a lot of rogue gear that hunters want too.
All your items drop in only 3 lockouts. That's like extremely unlikely. So yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it was mental amounts of luck. Literally, I got the last item this week, which was the boots from Iron Council.
Nice.
So it's been fun though. I am literally like loving the new challenge because it is a new challenge to me. Obviously, I've raided as every class and spec on multiple private servers, and Hunter is literally the one I've just never raided on. The first time I raided on a Hunter was Warlords of Draenor. So it's been a learning curve with Blizzard's dodgy hitboxes on the majority of these bosses with trap weaving.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm just saying my ults are Hunter and the hitboxes are like absolutely atrocious. Like, what is XT's heart? You're literally about 20 yards away to attack it. It is just awful.
It's mental.
It's fun.
That's it. That's me, really. Yeah. As I say, PTR and raids.
I've been doing a lot of PTR and raiding also. I'm raiding with my guild. We do speedrun attempts in Ulduar every week, and those, like, you take even the easiest bosses in the raid, like Oriaya, and when you try to do them full throttle, maximum speed, they still wipe you every week because you're just pushing it to the absolute limit. And I have a lot of fun with those speedruns. We've had a couple weeks in a row where like something goes wrong. So we're really hoping we get another solid run in. We're aiming for like close to a 1 hour time. That's pretty cool. And I've been leveling up on hardcore as well. I got my rogue up to 40, just got my mount last stream. So that was hype. Hit 40, immediately flew out. I got the mount, so that was cool. Felt like character progression. You know what I want out of World of Warcraft. That's good. That's what I've been up to.
Awesome. Yeah. Awesome.
For me, I've just been same raiding Ulduar, doing some PTR, getting some clears in on Tralla Grand Crusader. Like it's I was told it's a short raid. It's a really short raid. Once your progress is done, you're going to be done in 30 minutes, more or less. Which is, I thought it'd be a bit longer than that, but no, it really doesn't take long.
It's going to be weird.
It's annoyingly not a step up in difficulty either, is it? Like, as in I would say the vast majority of hard modes in Ulduar are more difficult than every boss in COGC.
Yeah. I mean, the only fight was, I think we're getting onto it later, but Anubarak, because Blizzard broke block sets. So it can actually be quite challenging. I think most people will have some progress on that fight, for what it's worth. But a lot of the Ulduar hard modes are much harder.
Yeah, I absolutely agree with that.
I have a couple questions I'm definitely going to hit you guys up on different strategies. Like, I don't think we'll go through all strategies, but just a couple questions I want to ask later on when we hit that in the news. But what I've been doing, I've been raiding on 3 characters, one main taking, the one casual raid, my main rogue is in the sweaty casual raid, and then I've been doing GDKPs on my second rogue with like a high-end GDKP group, pummels groups. And so
yeah.
I actually snuck in my warrior. We're not doing 10-mans anymore, but I still need the Yogg chest and I needed the Mim boots. And we went in just before the podcast here. I did one on the warrior at GDKP, and I got the boots.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. That was really scary because I've only tanked on that guy, and I just made a DPS spec. Like I've only main tank. So when we just one tank something, I'm the only tank that stays. So I haven't DPS'd as a warrior this entire Wrath. And so I went in and I only had to off tank Algalon for this run. So I like practiced my rotation, and it's pretty similar to what it was before, but there's a lot more whack-a-mole stuff in there. And I was so nervous that because this is like a high-end GDKP. These are skilled players that are in really good guilds. And I was like, oh my God. Like I look good on the rogue because like I know how to play combat rogue, and I've practiced, the entire expansion so far. But man, the warrior, I was just like, oh, and I screwed up on the first pull on Algalon, and it was just like, I was so nervous. My heart was thumping. But I got through it, and I got the boots, which was really cool. Got some DPS upgrades too, which was really nice. So yeah, that's all I've been doing. I've been kind of raid loggy, just because I like to go raid loggy like the few weeks leading up to the new raids, just because it kind of resets me, and so I've been playing other games. Like I've been playing that Jedi game, not the one that just came out, but I had the old one and it only played a bit of it. So I'm playing through that now so that I can play the second one.
Are any of you playing D4 next week?
Oh,
yeah.
Definitely. I'm stoked
on
that.
Do that.
Me too.
I played on all the beta weekends, the Server Slam. Like, that game looks fun to me.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a bit of an odd one out with Blizzard. Yeah, I don't really play it. I never got into it back in the day. So yeah, not a big Diablo person myself.
Yeah, I wouldn't say I am, to be honest. It's one of those games where when it comes out, like when D3 came out, I was the same. I'll play it for a couple of weeks, like hard. I'll go hard on it for a couple of weeks, and then I'll forget about it.
Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, I'm not one that goes like I played 3 for a couple of months when it first came out. The Real Money Auction House came out, and then I just like quit, and then I came back for the expansion, played for 3-4 weeks, and then haven't played since. So
I didn't really think about mentioning other games though, Bob, but yeah, I've been playing the new Star Wars Survivor on the PS5, and you might start laughing at me, but I've started from scratch basically on Star Wars: The Old Republic as well. I'm absolutely loving it. That's my kind of leveling. Star Wars: The Old Republic. That's my hardcore. It's like it's so good.
Mel and I, like maybe 6 months ago, I forget. It was before Wrath, so it was a while ago. But we just loaded that up, and we're like, because we both played it back in the day, and I was like, dude, it's free. We could just like see the different stories, and like we played it, and like we played it for a night, but like we didn't like how like it was like the way they do it in WoW retail now. Like I want to be in her story, but only certain ones you're like in their story, and then like I'm talking to her on Discord, and she's like, "Shh, I'm trying to listen to a cutscene." I'm like, I don't see a cutscene. It's just kind of a disconnect playing together.
It's a single player game. I know it's an MMO, but it's a great single player experience.
Well, that's the same thing Mel and I ran into in Dragonflight. I was like waiting for her to start a escort, and she's like running off. I'm like, sweetie, what are you doing? And she's like, I'm on the escort. I'm like, the dude's right here. She's like, he's right here for me. And I was
got
just
a
like,
layering problem in both games.
No, it's just retail. You could do everything, like you do everything separate, even though you're together. It's really disconnecting. Like I was just like, And then everybody in my chat was like, "No, that's great. Now you don't have to wait." And I was like, "Yeah, but we're not doing it together. It's just, I don't know. It was just weird." But
the reason I'm doing Star Wars again is purely because I played it at launch. I quit WoW
Same.
for 3 months to play it at launch, and I was a lot
quit
younger
WoW
then.
at launch and never came back to WoW until Classic.
Oh right, no, I came back after a few months when we saw how easy the raid content was on Star Wars. But I would have skipped every cutscene. I'd have skipped everything because, yeah, like I say, I was young and had no patience at all. You know, whereas now I'm literally watching every cutscene. You know, listening to the dialogue and making choices. So yeah, it's like a really immersive one-player experience. But yeah, I can't imagine doing it with people.
Yeah, it's. I mean, for us, it would have been really fun for us to do it together, but it was a very big disconnect there for us. But yeah, all right. Yeah, I think that's. Anything else anybody wants to add for what you've been doing this week?
Oh, I had a very different Ulduar raid than you. You said yours was like you were stressed about your performance and whatever.
Yeah.
I joined my Ulduar again right before this podcast, and I asked the raid leader. I was like, "Listen, how much can I tank my own performance for some good content here?" And they're like, "Simon, you do whatever you want." And so I equipped my Warglaives and spent the rest of the raid with Warglaives of Azeroth in Ulduar. And we were bantering back and forth. Whenever I would beat someone on damage while using Warglaives, and they've got their Ulduar weapons, I give them some crap.
Oh,
And they make fun of me for being like
down.
5th on the next boss.
You can bury the logs. Is the site still down? It was down earlier, wasn't it?
It was
I
down
think there was some
yesterday for
maintenance on
hours
it
as well.
yesterday.
Oh, it's working.
Interesting.
Okay, you can't hide the logs then. Okay, I thought it was still down or something. It's not.
Well, I already told you, Bob. Well, I told Bob and Simon. I don't know if you was. Yeah, I think you came in just after Willie. But yeah, we had like a bit of a guild get together last night. You know, lots of drinks, lots of stupid things happening. We was in Ulduar 10 for 9 hours.
9 hours.
Well,
we had people falling asleep at the bosses, like literally, as in drunk, falling asleep in their chairs, like before polls and stuff. It was an interesting old night.
Yeah,
that was pure content.
Yeah, definitely.
we had like I didn't realize it at the time, but I was told the next day because I was also had a little too much that night. But we did a 6-hour one that I led, but it like we didn't wipe a whole ton, but we were like I kept having to fill the group because people just kept
no,
just logging out offline. I'm like, and I was just talking to chat and just like filling the group, and like I didn't even realize that it was like a 5.5 hour run.
But we'd be halfway through a boss fight. We'd be halfway through a boss fight, and someone on Discord would go, "Has anyone looked at Scott's camera?" And then they look at my camera, and I'm spinning around in the middle of the room on a hoverboard, drinking gin and tonic.
One of those.
Oh, so it was a Peo stream. I see. Where everybody's killing the boss and he's just dancing.
It was fun.
Oh, I love him. Oh, that's awesome. All right, well, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and move on to.
Oh God.
Bobby, we need to have a talk about this World of Warcraft Classic. Do I look like I know what a WoW token is?
All right, for anybody that doesn't know, that's been hiding under a rock, the WoW token was dropped like nonchalantly, like, "Yo, WoW token's in this week," just out of the blue for us. Really, wasn't really talked about it. There wasn't really much talk about it. Like, they did come out later and put like a whole list together and a whole explanation, but before we get into talking about it, I want to play Go's video really quick, and that should start us out. Maybe we'll play Mega Man's here in a little bit. Let me pull this up on the stream. You guys will not be able to see it, but you will be able to hear it. Okay, and putting it up there. Perfect. let's go ahead and play.
Yo, Mel, Bob, guests. Hope you guys are doing well today. I have to thank Blizzard. I'm outside hiking. I'm 17 miles in. I still got 3 or 4 left to go. But without this WoW token, letting me just log into the game, buy everything that I need from the auction house, and raid, buy all my gear, I'd have to actually play the game and be inside. So thank you, Blizzard, for letting me be outside. I hope your guests feel the same way, that it's a great implementation into the game. But I was thinking, what kind of gold sinks would you guys like to see in the game? Jordy was talking about it on Classic Life yesterday, how Classic Era has the Chrono Boon. If you guys had any ideas of a gold sink, like a weekly thing that players could buy and spend their gold, then yeah, I'd like to hear what it is. Have a good show.
What do you think?
I think it would be adding a weekly gold sync would received even worse than the WoW token, because now that's incentivizing everyone to buy the WoW tokens to be able to keep up with the gold sync every week. So no, I would not add one. Full stop.
Yeah, I think something that's kind of nice about Wrath of Lich King is you actually don't have to log in and farm for hours each week to get your consumables like you did in vanilla, or get your world buffs or whatever. Like, it's actually pretty chill to raid, get your consumes, your enchants, or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, once you got your, I've said it a bunch of times, when you have your character set up on Wrath, you get a lot of gold from raiding, just passively. You don't notice it, but you do. You get a few hundred every week, and that can pretty much cover everything. The one gold sync I've wanted forever is, the people that train you weapon skill, who teach you to use a weapon, they've got one skill. Like, what are they even teaching you? Just how to hold it? 'Cause then you have to go and hit stuff with the weapon. So, just get the weapon skill, people, and allow you to throw 500 gold at them, and they max your weapon skill whatever level you are.
I would do
Because
that.
no one likes training weapon skill. It's boring. I've never liked it in any expansion, so,
Although I
let
will
me throw
say,
money at it.
So I was telling you about how I was DPSing for the first time. Well, I DPSed for two fights in last Saturday's 25 band, but I was like, guys, so I did everything, gemmed everything, everything's enchanted, everything's perfect, everything glyphed, everything's set. Forgot to level my weapon skills. They're both at 300 maces and swords, but killed the trash at Freya and killed one other trash leading up. And yeah, I was 349 by the time we got to Hodir. So
to be fair, they did make it a lot easier in Wrath.
Yeah, well, I think with all the buffs, I think all the buffs are huge in Raid, because I had worked up other things on the Rogue outside of Raid a lot slower. So I think like int buff and all the different things, like, and just the fact that you use you get to use so many things, like Rage was full. I don't know, but or you're hitting mobs that are a much higher level. I have no idea, but it went so fast.
I think they just improved the speed of the formula. I remember getting my Lionheart Blade on my Rep Halley in TBC, and it took absolutely forever to get it maxed out. Like the last few levels take over an hour or so, not per level, but like to get them done. It was like unbelievably long. I'm just like, please, just let me max out the stats so I can actually do proper damage.
Yeah, I feel like there's really nothing fun about that, whole system being in the game, and it's such a hindrance if you don't do it. So you feel compelled to do it, and it's just incredibly boring.
Yeah, you get a new weapon, you're like, oh, great new weapon, wait, I can't use it, I need to go and find some mob that goes immune and hit it for half an hour. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they did remove the whole weapon skill thing in later expansions. I'm not super familiar with that, but I don't think that's a thing anymore.
It might have been Cataclysm, but they definitely did remove it.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, they got rid of
figured it out eventually
and stuff, so
they realized it was a waste of time.
They convenienced out the game.
On the original question, I agree with obviously what both Simon and Willie said anyway. From Wrath onwards, it's not just something that happens in Wrath. From now until the end of time, you can be self-sufficient just by practically logging in and raiding. And I like that. I do like that. I hate thinking, God, I've got to farm 6 or 7 hours this week just to be able to afford to raid. It's like, yeah, that's not for me.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're gonna put gold sinks in, I think it's got to be, it's got to be like mounts, maybe like, I don't know, portable bank. Well, that's still like really overpowered though. I mean,
red void storage. There you go.
Somebody said spend gold on Oldawar teleporter skips.
Insert your into the raid, and you can just put 10,000 gold into the teleporter, and you can teleport to Yogg-Saron.
You get like a fast pass, like you'd get it at a amusement park, and so they'd be like, "Does anybody in this raid have the fast pass?" So you can
you'll need the monthly battle pass. You mean to be able to use teleporters and random dungeon finder? You'll get all of that for $9.99 a month.
No, but sorry, Scotty. That's the dungeon finder. That's not in the spirit of Classic, don't you know?
Oh, I know. I absolutely agree.
But the token is just to be
clear. we need to keep everything how it was in 3.3.5, and progress through the patches. It's important to maintain the integrity and the spirit of the game.
Well, let's get into it. The token is in. It was interesting. It popped in. It was at 10K, and then it was rising in price. Got to like maybe 12K, and then now it's down to 6K.
I think we skipped over the part where we explained what the token is, in case anyone doesn't know.
Oh, you go right ahead.
Yeah. Okay,
I'm still not even sure that I freaking completely understand it.
The WoW token, there's 2 ways you can interact with it. You can go and give Blizzard $20, or I think it's 17 euros, it varies by the region, to get a WoW token. And if you buy it for real currency, the only thing you can do with it is put it on the auction house and sell it to another player for in-game gold. And then you get the gold, they get the token. The other player who buys it with in-game gold, the only thing they can do with it is crush it and redeem it for a game time on their account. So they don't have to pay their subscription. So it doesn't generate new gold. Gold changes hands between players, and one person pays a $20 fee and the other person doesn't pay their subscription.
So basically what it does is anytime a token changes hands, Blizzard is in essence making $5 extra on a person's sub fee of $15.
And the really important implication here is that if you want to, now you can spend as much real money as you want to get as much in-game currency as you want at whatever the conversion rate is, which is something Blizzard previously completely forbid, was against the terms of service. They say you can't do real money transaction. Now it's just you can't do real money transaction with third parties.
Yeah. So if I just get my view on it out really quick, so I can then just make a coffee while you discuss for a second. I have not got a problem with a WoW token being in the game. I've got a problem with how it was put into the game. That my issue normally with Blizzard's decisions is not necessarily what they do, it's how they do it. And my issue is the fact that we see the WoW token in game before they even announce that it's being put out. That's just it makes them look bad. That looks like Absolutely. You're trying to sneak something under the carpet. I don't like that. In terms of it actually being there, obviously there's a lot of overly dramatized videos on YouTube and whatever, people reacting to the announcement of it going out and stuff. Again, to make it perfectly clear, I raid on multiple characters every week. I'm self-sufficient. I don't need gold. I couldn't even tell you the last time I went, oh, do you know what? I need to go and farm some gold. I just don't need to. So it has zero impact on me, whatsoever. I still log in, I still raid. I don't do GDKPs, so I don't even care from that aspect. So I'm probably one of the only people who are whatever. People buy gold anyway. Where they buy it from, I don't care. Should Blizzard, profit from the gold that's being transferred around, that's a completely different question. But actually, yeah, as a whole, I've not got a problem with it actually being there.
I don't know that it actually affects. Like, I don't know that it affects really anybody outside of people that do GDKPs. I mean, maybe like one person wants to spend a few bucks and get the big mount with the repair bot. I mean, that's a thing, but it still is like really kind of a one-time thing instead of a continuous stream. Whereas GDKP people, I think, are going to be spending a lot, right?
I just thought of something really funny, Bob, and I've got to tell you, like, this was more me being drunk last night and me being a bit of a spendthrift. But when we put a 10-man together for Alderweir last night, we realised we never had no mage and no one had any water. So I bought a token and went and bought the mount on my ult. Like, it genuinely actually did. And I've only just remembered that I actually done that. But no, I had an email. So I did get an email from someone who watched the video that I put out about Blizzard's community council meeting yesterday. And a really long, detailed email. And like I always appreciate when people actually put some thought, rather than just comment saying, shit take, Scotty, or whatever. That tells me nothing. It's like, well, yeah, you're not going to always agree with what I say. I'm not going to agree with what you all say. That's not how we work. But I did agree with what he said, because he's on. I think he said he was on Benediction, and he was like, every run, it's like extremely difficult to find any raid that isn't GDKP. And now the fact that the token's implemented, it almost makes him have to buy tokens or have to buy gold, from other websites to be able to even get loot anymore. And my reply to that would be the same as what I'd say to any of you, which is, well, the WoW token isn't actually the problem, is it? Like, the problem is the fact that every single run is GDKPs. And while I've done GDKPs, I've done one a couple of weeks ago, in fact, on my NA Paladin. I've not got an issue with them, but that is like the reason for buying gold, really, in Wrath is purely to buy gear. Like, there's no other reason for it. So I do genuinely think it's 100%. And I do just feel that it's not just the GDKPs that have been affected. It is other people outside of that, because some of these mega servers, you've got no alternative. You go to a GDKP or you struggle to actually find a raid. But that's my thoughts anyway. I'm going to make a coffee.
Hey, Simon Ice, you want to give us your initial thoughts and how you feel about it?
Yeah, sure. I kind of said a little bit of this before. It's like, prior to the introduction of the token, Blizzard's stance on real money transaction for like in-game benefit was 100% no, this is not allowed. Do not, like, you're not allowed to do this. And like, yeah, sure, they didn't really enforce it very well, you could argue, but like, officially this was against the rule, and like there was no question about whether it was allowed or not. Just like whether it'd be enforced very well. And then like the token comes along and it's like, why is real money transaction okay now? Blizzard adds this into the game. It's officially endorsed. Now it's like, okay, you can do real money transaction now. And it just, it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. It feels really bad because you're like, you can do real money transaction. Real money transaction feels like cheating to me, like getting ahead in the game for doing something that isn't in the game. And like, I want the real worlds in the game to be separate. That's maybe a fantasy, but like, it doesn't make sense mobile. That it's, it doesn't make sense. It feels like a
mobile game, right? Like, it feels very mobile game to be able to buy things, and you're not technically buying gear and stuff from Blizzard, but you are buying it from people running GDKPs. And mark my words, guys, Blizzard's gonna get all of a sudden really good at finding you and banning you for using third-party websites. They're gonna get real good fast if you're cutting them out. I could be wrong, but I think I'm right on that one.
So obviously, Bob, I know your story, but Simon, this is the first time we're properly speaking. Like, have you played retail, or did you? I don't know what your background is.
I haven't played. Let's see. The most recent expansion I played on retail was Cataclysm because I was rooming with someone at the time who was still playing, and he was like, let's get back into it," and I was like, "Okay, fine." And basically, I did archaeology until I got my bug mount, and then I sat around in town on the bug mount, and then I was like, "Well, this game is dumb," and quit.
Yeah, well, the only reason I asked is because, like, Willie, I know obviously you've played pretty much through the vast majority of the expansions, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
Do you feel like you just went asleep and then woke up in 2015? You know, as in, like, all of these discussions and everybody's points and all of the YouTube videos, it is like a copy paste of 2015. Everyone feels exactly the same way as when it was first introduced on retail. So I'm assuming they probably expected all of this and probably know that. Well, actually, Simon, you nailed it perfectly at the start. They will look when they add some form of monetization. They'll go, is our benefit going to outweigh whatever the repercussions are going to be by subscription losses, by whatever? And obviously, they've seen the success and how much money they've made from the token on WoW, like retail. So it was always, it was always a case of when, not if. It was obvious it was going to come.
I honestly thought it was going to be in TBC. If I'm being like, I was like, well, it's been so long, maybe it's actually not going to come out. I don't know. This is weird, and that's why I didn't expect it, because it had been so long. I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess they're just actually not going to do it. But I thought it would be in, and I mean, when we actually could have used it is in vanilla. Like, that's when, like, I literally played every day, and it was a good 6 hours to, like, actually get all of my consumes, world buffs, everything else. Like,
but that was when gold had real value. Like, this is not me simping for Blizzard. I'm just being serious. Like, TBC would have been the wrong time to put it in. Gold was still valuable in TBC. There was lots of uses for it. There was still, consumables were more expensive. Yeah, there was having gold and farming gold was necessary still. Whereas adding it now does it feel, even if you don't agree with it, it still feels like it's more of the right time now than it would have been in vanilla or TBC.
Yeah.
I would have been pissed off if they put it in vanilla or TBC. That is when I would have cared. But now, I don't.
Yeah, so
I mean, it feels like each expansion, the value of gold keeps kind of going down for the majority of players, and it just becomes a luxury, essentially, for people who want to chase mounts. Well, it used to have done to a great extent for mounts and achievements and eventually pets and stuff like that, but obviously these days it's a lot more used for gear than I think it would have been done in the past. Obviously, there's always been GDKP in that to an extent, but
this is a much bigger market now, and people really
see how things go with because obviously there's so much commentary that you can't find a normal raid, and the reason you can't find a normal raid is because the reward isn't there for the people putting the time and effort into making the raid. Why would you put a pug together for? I mean, it could be nothing. Even if you're like hard reserving something, it could fall apart. People could leave after the item doesn't drop. There's a whole plethora of issues. GDKP, even though I'm not personally much of a fan of them because the association with RMT, do present an incentive for everyone. So,
and what you said, they make you want to finish the raid. You said that in your latest video, Willie, which was great, by the way. I watched it all and enjoyed it. It was, there were some really good points in there. And the GDKP, as an example, was one of those really good points where you said, you won't leave. The raids won't fall apart. There's far less chance of a GDKP run falling apart than there is just your average pug. I get why everyone does it, but my big concern around the token, which again this could be received quite negatively, is actually the gold value that's attached to it. It seems so ludicrously low. As in, like, I feel like it should be a lot more than what it is, because I mean, Simon, I know you do loads of GDKP runs. Like if you do 3 a week, let's say, that's 3 months of game time that you're getting every week that you do GDKPs. It's mental.
Yeah, this is actually something that I brought up. I kind of think it's high for what it is. This is going to be weird because, I think there's a bit of a difference, right, between people who run a lot of GDKPs. You see, what is it right now? 6.5K for $20 if you do GDKPs is like a joke. You're never ever gonna buy that. All the token means if you run a lot of GDKP is you never have to pay for the game ever again, because it's like 1.5 bits of tier gear for a month's worth of sub, realistically, or 2 bits of tier gear if someone's buying them.
Well, and then it's just like the people that sold the first day made double what they would make right now if they bought the same amount of tokens. But I want to go back really quick to one of the points you guys made. You were talking about pugs. Well, also, this is guild people's fault too. Like every guild and their mother is dealing with the roster boss right now, and that's because people want to come until they get most of their stuff, and then they can't be bothered to help their guild and their basically in-game family keep getting their gear. Like they just putz out. Or you've got the people that start and raid for the first 4 weeks, and then they putz out, and then you're bringing in new people, but you're bringing in people that are way under geared because there's no pool to pull from to get new guildies at this point. And then you have to wait till the ones come back, and then they're bound to leave you again. And it's like, people can't, like, if I had to quit, sometimes you have to. Something happens in life and you just have to. But for the people that start a raid phase and then just quit halfway through, I say shame on you, and you're a big reason that GDKP is there, because it always provides a way to keep raiding, and you end up screwing us by leaving. And so, like, if I was going to leave, it would definitely be at the end of a raid, and I would let them know weeks in advance. Like, that's the proper way to leave, in my opinion. Everybody says it's just a game, but honestly, it's not, guys. It's like, just like if you played volleyball with a group of people and you don't show up, they can't play. You have screwed them and their time. So it's a little bit more than just a game, So
if I jump off the back of that, Bob. So yeah, basically anyone in my guild in Pink on EU, particularly you, Mincy, if you're watching, any of you that have taken a break, you ruined the WoW economy.
Dicks.
I just want to make that clear.
No quitting, no taking breaks.
Yeah. Is there any, just a bit of a random question? Again, I know, Willie, in your latest video, you sort of made your opinion on it clear, but is there any situation that any of you guys would buy the token? So, like, I'll just give you mine. So, drunken mount buying aside, if, let's say, Simon was like, "Oh, Scott, like, you should, start a new character on my server," the first thing I'd do is buy a token. Like, honestly, I've got no gold. I've got nothing on that server. I want epic flying ready for when I'm 70. I would literally create a new character on that server where I've got nothing, send my heirlooms over, and buy a token. That's a situation where I, would buy the token.
And buy new gear every 10 levels.
But I wouldn't buy it for gear. No. Oh, sorry. I thought you was going GDKPs. I would not buy tokens to buy actual level 80 gear, though. It's more just to set my character up at level 1.
I could imagine that too if I wanted to start from zero. I mean, like, I've had my account since like Classic started. I started from 0 once before. Like, that's a slow process to, get resources built up in the game. I could imagine myself doing that if I re-rolled on a new server.
Yeah, would you ever buy it to top your GDKP funds up, though?
No, because that is a bottomless pit. Like, you buy more gold, you bring more gold into the GDKP group. It just keeps circulating within the GDKP group. It doesn't ever go away. There's no tax. So it inflates and inflates and inflates. And if you want, the same, say, like, you buy 2 tokens 1 week and you got like a little boost in gold, you can buy a little bit more. Maybe 2 months later, a bunch of other people have also bought tokens. And now there's like even more gold floating around in the GDKP group. To get the same buying power you had before, 2 months ago from buying 2 tokens, maybe you have to buy 3 tokens now. That's a pretty absurd rate of inflation. But like the pool of gold that gets traded between GDKP players will just always continue to inflate because nothing's taking that gold out of the system. It's just being traded between players. So you need to spend more and more and more to even have the same buying power as you go on. And that's like, I do not want to even dip my toe into that.
Yep.
Yeah. And
Willie, was you? Sorry, Bob, but yeah, I think Willie, you was going to say whether you buy a token or not.
I mean, I log in, I do my raids, that gives me all the gold I need, and then I log off again. So no, but I was just going to say, actually, one of the reasons I was saying why I think the amount of gold for a token is quite a lot, because if we do take the hypothetical of, whether you're changing server, you're a newer player, whatever it may be, if I went and bought a token now on EU and I sold it for 9,700 gold, with that gold I could buy flying, epic flying, cold weather flying, dual spec, and I probably have enough money left over to maybe not level both expensive professions if you have like engineering dual crafting, but certainly one of them, and a good amount of enchants and gems. It's like you're caught up and it costs you like €20. So that's why I say it's quite a lot.
If you started fresh on a new server, would you pay that €20 to get that catch up?
I mean, yeah, if it was on a new server, yeah, like there's. But yeah, I don't know why. If it was with the intention of raiding at endgame, yeah. But I'd probably wait till I was level cap and see where I'm at and see if I have a guild first rather than buying it straight away.
So
this is the thing, like my sort of point here that's hidden amongst all these questions.
I didn't get to answer yet.
Yeah, but we know you've probably already bought 7.
I bought 2 for research.
I told you.
And I sold them the first day for 12K each. So, suckers.
No, go on, sorry.
Off now, so good move.
That was all. It's just that I bought 2. I like needed to know how it worked. So I bought one from the auction house. Now that does kind of suck because I bought one from the auction house for like 11K, but then I sold 2 for 12K. I needed to see how it worked because I was going to talk about it on the show, and so I wanted to understand it fully. I still don't understand how it fluctuates so much. Like it's got something to do with demand. I guess if people buy it more, it like drops in price. Like
I assume because you was only doing it for research purposes as well, you donated the gold to charity that you actually received.
Of course,
I spent it today on my warrior in GDKP.
Warriors are actually a charity case in Wrath of Lich King. So yeah, that's fair.
It's like doing a good deed for the day.
Well, I had to take Algalon, so I had purpose. One little purpose. And Sunders. I did a lot of Sunders. So I had, some purpose, but there was something I was going to say about, but see now, so this probably happened to anybody who was buying a lot of gold. Like they probably knew how much gold per $10 or $20 it was. So but I didn't, right? But now that the token's in, I was in the GDKP today and I was like, yeah, that item's going for $60. Okay. And it's like a whole different thought process in my head now. Instead of it just being my gold, I'm like, well, is it really worth $60? I don't know if it's worth $60, but I would have been if the token wasn't out, if I didn't have that in my head. So it's kind of like tainted a little bit of the GDKPs for me because I'm just like, now I really think about it. I'm like, oh, I don't know.
This was something that really struck me when it happened. Thursday, I had a GDKP 25-man ult where I'd already signed up to it, committed to being there prior to the news of the token being there. And I was upset about the token. I was like, yeah, whatever. I'm going to this raid anyways. And we kill General, we go through the raid and General Vezex dies. We get a Flare of the Heavens. It bids up. It sells for 112,000 gold. And after the bid closed, within 30 seconds, someone commented, that's a $300 trinket. Because they could easily go and look at the conversion rate based on the token. And like in all the GDKP raids I've done, that's never happened. Where like a bid closes. I mean, I've seen a flare go for 2 over gold cap. But like that's not the point. The point is no one ever in those raids is going like, this is a $300 thing. This is a $200 item. That's a $50 bid. But now that conversion is right there, and it really struck me that like, okay, we're just throwing actual dollars around at this point.
Yep.
And it like kind of ruins the experience for me. Like I'm not in World of Warcraft anymore.
We should also talk about the fact that on the vast majority of servers, with the WoW token being so, like the gold return being so low, you can, if you're willing to risk it, you can buy gold from G to G cheaper than you could pay your WoW subscription. So buy gold and then buy a token with the gold, have some gold left over.
I have heard a lot of comments from people that like are buying gold. They're like, "Yep, I'm just buying from third party and then buying the WoW token, and now my subscription's cheaper." Because like the price is so out of whack on the token that like the third party can still provide, you know, gold at a better rate.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
I mean, they have to be able to. That's kind of the. I mean, before they didn't have competition. Now they do. They have to be able to provide it cheaper. Otherwise, you know, why would you really?
Yeah, well, and if they really wanted to combat, I mean, they're going to have to like adjust how much it goes, how much it like goes for. Because like they're going to have to. Like they're gonna have to up the gold you get for the token, like because as long as the botters can still make enough, you know, like it's like you're never going to win with that. But I do think they'll start watching people buying gold more often now. But I don't know how like gold changes hands so often, and then like GDKPs like. Lots of the high-end ones, like they have to mail you your cut because like they just couldn't they just couldn't carry it all. So
too much gold,
it's like so the mail's just spammed with tons of crap, you know, and so it's like I don't know how this really actually combats it. It just like gets Blizzard a little extra money. I don't see how it actually fixes the bot problem. But at the same time, I don't know. I am ignorant. Like we all talk about how they could take care of the bots easy. And I feel like in my head, you could just have one person just checking dungeons and really laying the hammer down. But at the same time, I am completely ignorant of like what actually happens at Blizzard and their methods. So it's impossible for me to really know if they actually are doing what they can to do. And so it's a lose-lose for everybody, I think, across the board there.
I feel like it's absolutely just a trust me bro type of situation. Like if Blizzard gets really explicit about what they're doing to combat bots and they share this information, they're like, look at all the stuff we're doing and give you actual specifics. Well, it's like the people botting. It's like, okay, they're doing this and they're doing this and they're doing this. So we need to change our things to not get caught by that. But so like they can't really do that. So they just say, trust us. We're doing everything we can. In the blue post, they said, you know, multiple people's full-time job. But it's very hard for me to believe that they're doing all they can when I any time of day I can fly over to Botanica and watch Death Knights go in and out of that dungeon all day long. It's like I can see the problem. I don't even have special Blizzard tools for tracking people. Like I could just go look at the problem right there in front of me. Like how can it possibly be that much more difficult?
Yeah, and supposedly they do ban those, but I don't know. Right.
But there's also something interesting on that. So I know a guy who moved out to Bali and started, obviously labor out there is so cheap. He started a online currency selling, you know, he's basically a vendor for G2G. And he's got 20 accounts being manned 24 hours a day. So he's got people actually on them farming. And I know for
They're
a
not
fact
bots.
loads of them
He's like,
they're not bots,
yeah.
but he does risk losing those accounts still. So he had a wave of like 10 of them banned for botting, even though he uses no software at all. They're people, you know, because they've just seen that the the accounts have been online for 3 weeks straight, you know, so they've been banned. But there is actually a lot that you'll see where they look like bots, they act like bots, but they're actually manned by people who have got no idea how to play the game. You know, they've just been told by somebody, go and press 1, 2, 3, 4 and run through here, you know, loot it all. And then, you know, so
When
I
leveling
100% know that happens.
I've been called a bot so many times when leveling a character. Like, I'm not gonna answer some angry tell about this guy, me, you know, taking his quest mob. Like, I'm just not gonna answer him. And then they're like, oh yeah, so you're a bot, reported. And I'm like, whatever, dude.
I think that they just don't want to put the basically the manpower into solving the issue, but they'll probably do. I mean, they say they do, but employ people to figure out how people are breaking the rules, and then how can they make it more inconvenient for them to do that, rather than straight up banning them. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
I remember the days where it was all right.
Black Temple, and now they made it more difficult to do or something. But I think it might be an issue of scaling the solution as well.
One thing that occurred to me is like,
it might work well.
Sorry, what was that?
Yeah, I was just saying there might be an issue with scaling the solution. Well, obviously, when you got directly people intervening, it might work well when you have a smaller number of players, but with more, it might be more difficult. But again, yeah, there was a lot of people back in the day, and they had gyms back in the day, so I guess it worked.
One thing that occurred to me as I've been thinking about this the past few days is like, a lot of people buy gold from third-party websites. That's been going on a while. Some people speak fairly openly about it. I know someone that was buying gold from third-party websites, and they got caught by Blizzard, and they got a 2 or 3 week suspension on their account. And I don't remember if they got the gold even taken away. That's not a detail that's clear in my head, but it was like a very lenient punishment for having gotten caught. And it's like, to me, it struck me, it's like, if Blizzard's actually serious about, you know, stopping people from doing these RMT transactions, like, they can do the exact same level of detection, put in the exact same level of effort they're currently doing, and just go to their like penal guidelines and change that like 2 to 3 weeks. This is now a 6-month suspension. And then like put out a blue post. It's like, yeah, we're drastically increasing the punishments. And like, the punishment doesn't have to be like, you don't have to catch every single person, but you have to have a really big threat, and that can act as a really big deterrent from having people, you know, do these real money transactions. And I'm just like, man, if you're sitting around here putting in so much effort that you're saying is like so difficult to find all the people buying and all the bots farming, and then all you do is a 2 to 3 month suspension on a buyer, it's like, come on, that's a joke. Like, that person just kept playing on their second account and then like kept buying gold.
Yeah, and the majority of people use burner accounts anyway. They use an account, obviously, to launder the gold through. Not that I know, a friend told me. But like, I'd openly talk about buying gold. Like, I don't care. It's a game, you know. Like, I'm really not that bothered. I know what happens. I know what I'm like. I'm lazy, and I know what my guild's like. Literally, if they really went bang, you know, the hammer's coming down. We've found an algorithm where we can work out every single account, you know, that has not been given gold in a GDKP, because that's not fair, but that have directly bought gold and used the second account for it or whatever. Half our guild would get banned tomorrow.
Well, okay. Do you guys remember in vanilla? So in vanilla, towards like during the Nax time, we lost 2 guildies because like they couldn't raid without buying gold to get their consumes, right? And so they bought gold. But both of these guys tried to log in one day, had a 2-week suspension. So they came back 2 weeks later. All of their gold was gone, even more than they bought, and their epic mounts were gone. Which in Classic, the epic mount was a pain in the butt to get. Like, and so they just quit. You know, like, so like that's, I think, the rock in a hard place thing that Blizzard has to deal with is that people just might be like, "Oh, I'll just go play a different game." You know, like I feel like you got to take out the gold sellers, like, but I don't know.
I think it's just like the fungus gnats in my plants next to me. You got to attack from both angles. If you want to defeat the infestation of gold sellers, you got to attack the buyers and you got to attack the sellers. Just like I have to attack the adult gnats and the larva gnats if I want to get rid of the infestation. Like, you don't win by fighting it only on one end.
See, the thing is, as well, it's the whole being AFK whilst your character does things. That's not actually, like, I know we call it botting, but that's not something new to MMOs. It's in some cases it's perfectly fine. I mean, I used to play Star Wars Galaxies, and you know, AFK grinding in Star Wars Galaxies with in-game macros. You didn't need software. That was normal. You know, you could make your character spin round, and it would continuously tab and try to attack things. So yeah, it's. And I've botted in the past. I've literally, throughout the entirety of Cataclysm, I used a speed hack and fly hack. All of Cataclysm never got banned. There was no way I was flying at normal speed doing archaeology. Like, you know.
Your
That
video,
sounds fun as hell.
your video, Scotty, just recently when you had when they were talking about the fly hacks and game hacks, and you put the video of the guy going,
Superman.
Watch me be Superman's. And he just flies at like light speed, like across the map. I was cracking up, man.
Yeah, well, I remember. So I'll be like, you know, completely honest. This is not me now, like trying to redeem myself. I've not botted in Classic, like, at all. It's not, again, I was a lot younger then, didn't really care. Do you know what I mean? So if I'd have got banned, so what? I'd have just started a new account and whatever. I don't do it now, and I wouldn't do it now. But I remember our guild in original Wrath, particularly during ICC, everybody in the guild was using Mr. Fishit, which was a fishing bot. And I mean everyone. If you weren't using Mr. Fishit in our guild, you was weird. Like, what are you doing? So we used to like literally just go around Dalaran making massive penis pictures out of fish feasts because we just had, you know, we literally would have millions of fish feasts every day. But everybody was using Mr. Fishit. You know, you'd go to Wintergrass and there'd be like 3,000 or 4,000 people all just fishing in the same lake. So I actually think Classic is a lot better than it was back in the day. There's lots of bots, don't get me wrong, but I do truly believe less people are actually botting in Classic. And I don't know if that's just because of the maturity of the audience now. You know, again, when you're a lot younger, you don't care. Call of Duty used to use wallhack. Why not? You know, all of that. It was fun. You was cheating. It felt good. You know, whereas now you're like, why would I bother? You know, I want to play the game. You know, I want to enjoy the game.
Dude, I bought gold in vanilla, or the original one, but I didn't know it was against the rules because I had come from Ultima Online, and Ultima Online RMT paid for like a good chunk of my freaking college. Like, I mean, I would go set macros, have like guys working up. I would sell accounts. I would sell rare items, like, and it was all like, like Origin obviously didn't care because it was all over eBay. Like, I mean, so yeah, it's just, it was weird to me that it was against the rules. I found out later because I did get suspended for it.
Those were the days, though. I remember that.
I like wrote them back, and I was like, "What the hell? Like, what do you mean I can't buy gold? Like, this is somebody's stuff. Like, they can sell it to me if they want. Like, it's theirs." And they're like, "No, it's actually ours. Read this." And I was like, "Oh shit, it is actually yours."
Like, huh? How about
yeah,
that?
they used to sell all that on eBay. That was great.
Yeah, I was really young and just didn't know. Like,
yeah, I remember in Diablo 2, I was, okay, now you know I'm old. When I was very little playing actual Diablo 2, not Diablo 2 Resurrected, I remember like on the, you know, Battle.net servers, there were people going around with these like bugged items that had like way more stats than they were supposed to. And like you could get a ring that had the stats of the Oculus weapon, but it's in a ring slot. So it's like, what? That's like really, really good. That's way more stats than you'd normally get on a ring. And I was like, man, I could just go to this website and buy it for $5 and they'll trade me it. And I was like, okay, I'm going to buy 2 of those. I got 2 ring slots. And I did that. And like a week later, I was not interested in the game anymore. Like I shortcut to the end of the game and I taught myself a valuable lesson that like I robbed myself of the fun of the game, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like
D2 RMT was massive. I mean, I used to sell runes on eBay during D2. Yeah, I mean, I think it's Blizzard, isn't it? The RMT in Blizzard games has always actually been really bad.
Yeah, it's all just, skip into the end. Yeah, I mean, I sort of know what it's like. I had some characters RuneScape back in the day, which end up being completely maxed, basically stats wise. But I did it the normal way, and I sort of realised if I skipped to the end, I would have got bored early. So I don't know. I didn't really tend to. Even when I was young, I didn't bother doing it. Mind you, I didn't have any money either, so that didn't help. But like, yeah. So aside from the principle, maybe if I did, I would have. But yeah.
See, I think like me now, again, not me in the past, but now I am more. I do like that little head start in any game I play. So I'd use an Ultimate Team on FIFA as an example. You know, I've been playing the latest FIFA. When I start my Ultimate Team, I normally spend 20, 30 quid, something like that, on coins to buy packs. You know, just to get the team started, so it's half decent. And then, and that's if you could sort of correlate that to what I said about a new server. If I started on a new server, I'd buy a token just to get that, you know, a nice easy start, and then I want to earn everything myself. So I don't think that changes.
Yeah, outside of WoW and stuff, there's not many games I've even played where you can RMT. Aside from, I just play a lot of single player stuff. Like we were talking about earlier, things we've been playing. I've been playing a bit of Darkest Dungeon too, which is like you just buy the game and you play it, and that's kind of it. Like there's no RMT.
So that's a weird game where you just buy it and that's it.
I know it's this crazy thing.
Good old days.
Yeah, where you just buy the game and you play the game. Yeah.
Well, I'll always remember. So my back in Star Wars Galaxies, you know, again talking RMT in a game where it shouldn't have RMT. My brother was the first Jedi on Bria, on the server Bria, and like literally, I was just his bodyguard while he was maxing out his template. And he sold his Jedi for £3,000. £3,000 for an account.
That's a lot.
I've never said this on the podcast. I've said many times I was one of the first Jedi in Star Wars Galaxies, and it's true. And I played for with that Jedi account for 2 or 3 months, but then I was moving to Los Angeles. I was moving to LA to like try and break into the entertainment industry, and I knew I was going to be doing unpaid internships. I'd saved a bunch of money, but I sold my Jedi account for $2,500.
It's
nice. Money in the
they
bag.
went for crazy money. Like
it was, and like I still didn't know it like was against their rules, like so. But yeah, I've never told anybody that, but it helped pay for like that was 2 months rent, like out there, and like
you put the work in, mate, to get that Jedi unlocked. That's no easy feat. That used to be a long, gruesome grind. So rather than letting the account sit there and rot, you should sell it.
I got lucky. I mean, I literally like by one of the first. I mean, we had seen one Jedi on our server, and like I think I was the second one on the server, and like I had mastered other professions prior, but I only did like 8. But also I had
That is ridiculous.
Well, okay, so I was lucky with the like I also became richer beyond anybody's like wildest dreams, because on Yavin 4 there was a cave with these big, like they kind of looked like rancors, but they had fur. They were these huge monsters, right? And I animal tamed one of them and just killed them in a cave. Nobody ever came to the cave. I got 7 holocrons there, and I sold the holocrons for millions. Like, I bought guild halls for like all my buddies, and like I still have a guy that says, "Dude, you ruined the game for me," because he'd started a month earlier, and I just gave him all this gold. He was like, "You just ruined like he was all excited at first, and then at like 3 weeks later he quit, and he was like, "Dude, you just killed it for me." And I was like,
Yeah, it's
"Oh."
just skipping to the end, like I did in Diablo 2 back in the day. But
Yeah.
maybe we bring it a little bit back to World of Warcraft.
Yeah,
There's something.
sorry, we're all over the place
Can
right
we,
now.
can we
It's
not have a
all
Star Wars
good.
Galaxies podcast? Oh,
It's all good.
Galaxies, RuneScape, Diablo,
I could do a
Ultima
RuneScape one, no
Online.
problem.
But,
I've gone down that
something
game for
Willie
a
had
very
said-
long time.
said a while ago, I think it was in his video, he was kind of pointing out how GDKP raids have some like pretty serious advantages over like your main spec over off spec or soft reserve roles. And that's something I like totally agree with and wanted to talk a little bit more about. Is like when I'm looking to like join a raid on my character, like I've got some options. Like I could try to go to, find a main spec over off spec, just roll for loot, or a soft reserve is a little bit better. I figured I'd have probably better odds to get what I'm looking for in a soft reserve run, because not everyone's going to be rolling against me. But then, like, you think about a GDKP raid, and it has some very serious advantages. I mean, you hold a significant reward for all the players till the very end of the raid. It's amazing how less often it is that someone's cat catches on fire right after the boss dies that they happened to soft reserve loot from, and they left, and you had to replace them. And like a GDKP raid has, ways that incentivize strong players, experienced players, geared players to still attend the raids. And when you have
the entire raid too.
Yeah, the entire raid, whether it's, gold payout or what, maybe they earn the gold for themselves or they earn the gold to then like gear their alt or whatever. But when you can incentivize, strong, experienced players to go to the raid, like you just have a smoother raid. You're not progressing on Mimiron every single week, and like that's a good experience. And personally, the thing I like the most is like when I go to a GDKP raid, I know I'm going to walk away with something valuable for my time. Like I'm either going to have an item in my bags or I'm going to have more gold in my bags. And like that's just not true if I were to go to a soft reserve or a main spec over off spec run. And the three things I just mentioned, they're 100% true about this loot format, whether or not you have anyone doing real money transaction, buying gold to, inflate their bids. Like it's just a legitimately good loot system. And I feel like kind of sad that it's so polluted and corrupted by the prevalence of real money transaction. Like a lot of my viewers will be like, "Aha, Simon, I got you. You're benefiting from gold buying because you go to GDKPs and you get bigger payouts when
I get told that every time. Yeah.
Yeah, when other people in your raid do real money transaction, even if you don't." And it's like I don't really benefit. I get my $10,000 or $15,000 payout and I save that up over weeks. And, then I can buy an Embrace of the Gladiator or a Blade Twister or whatever good item for me. But like the people buying gold have significantly more buying power in these raids, and it diminishes the value of, like as it inflates more and more and more, I have to save up more and more weeks to get each item. Like the more people that are buying gold and attending GDKP raids, the harder it is for a legitimate player not buying gold to participate in that, raid system, which is a legitimately good raid system, if not for this plague of RMT.
I'm probably going to say something that will surprise you, but actually, if you remove RMT, like if it didn't exist, it was, you will get banned 100% if you buy one gold. GDKP is the perfect loot system. There is
On
no
a
loot system
fresh
that's better.
server.
I think
you know what I mean? Like it's got to be like a fresh server. Like now, even if you ban everybody, like all the gold's in there, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's too late. It's too late now, of course.
Yeah.
GDKP survives without RMT because it's just a good system. But like maybe in a crazy world where you deleted GDKP, you completely forbade players from organizing in that way. You also remove like incentive, the vast majority of incentive for players to buy gold.
Now you'll just have, if they remove GDKP, people would just work their way around it by doing what they do on retail and selling raid boosts.
Yeah, I mean, it'd
just
be like
35
much
people.
more back alley type of, or like
Yeah.
convoluted ways.
The
They'll
thing
always
is,
sell
like you
things.
said, with the the thing
go
you
ahead.
said about GDKPs in general is like Ulduar. This is going to sound maybe a bit contradictive on the basis I said I'm not particularly an enjoyer of GDKPs, but Ulduar is almost the perfect raid for GDKPs with the fact that you only get one hard mode item from a pool of 5 or 6 items, so you could raid for multiple weeks without ever even seeing the item that you want to buy. So, like you said, if you go into a soft reserve, you could do 5 or 6 weeks of pugging, and it's absolute hell with scrubs and people leaving and whatever else, and your items don't drop anyway. At least you know in a GDKP, right, if I have to wait 4 weeks for this item to drop, I'm going to accrue enough money over those 4 pots to be able to buy it. You know?
I mean, there's a period of like 6 or 7 weeks where like actually nothing good dropped for my character. And then the next week I was rolling in with 240,000 gold, and I just slapped, this is all from just payouts, but it was pretty fun. I mean, I rolled in and I slapped 100,000 on this item and 100,000 on that item, and I've never seen as much gold ever again. I never ever built up that much gold again.
Well, and you talk about GDKP, and honestly, like chat would want us. They're all high and mighty, but like, do you want us to cut our nose off to spite our face because we're gonna be high and mighty and be like, I'm not gonna come because there's a gold buyer? Like, no, like with all of the tunes, if I raided on one tune, I would just raid in a guild. Like, but being in a guild is a lot of work, even if you're not a officer. Like, there's internal drama, there's cliques, there's people, showing up to raid and just lazily working on trash, lazily doing this or that. Like, there's all kinds of different problems in guild raids. So, like, I'm not going to join 3 guilds to raid on 3 characters. Like, that's way too much. So GDKPs are the best way to do it, because SR runs, people leave after their items are not there. This is why I had the 6-hour one the other day.
Yep.
No one wants to do MS over OS because it's just too much chance, and they don't even know, and then freaking GDKPs, everybody is on point normally because they don't, they want to stay in the raid and come to the next raid, right? They're all, lots of the really good ones are run by these guys that are in top end guilds that know a ton, that have a ton of knowledge, and they just run so good. And it's for me to be like, well, I'm just going to run an SR run because I am sticking by my guns. I don't like gold buying from third-party sites, but that's not my job to police it. I just want to play the game and get stuff done in a good amount of time. And I've learned stuff in GDKPs that I take to my guild, and we kill a boss way better after that. There are ways to learn too. It's just, I don't get the argument that if you go to GDKPs, you're part of the problem. I still think the problem is people being lazy in guild runs.
I think that's just your classic, chatter argument. It's not really a very fleshed out argument. But
yeah, I mean, I could say a few things about them because obviously I'm someone that doesn't run GDKPs. I think part of the reason I don't do it as well is because I don't like the idea of raid being a gold farm, which it kind of turns it into that a little bit for me. I kind of put raiding at the top of the pyramid of the content in Classic for me. It's what I level my character, then I set them up. I learn how to play my spec, all that other stuff, and I raid, and that's the payoff that I work up to. And if I felt as though it was more of a gold farm, it'd kind of devalue it a bit. But
I feel the same, exactly the same.
Yeah. If I was a streamer, for example, I would almost certainly be doing GDKPs because it's good content, isn't it? Let's be real.
Yep.
If I was not in a position where I was able to join a guild, I'd very much appreciate the best loot system outside of being in a guild and having a good loot council. On a slight tangent, like for retail is not a good single player game at endgame. Not good at all. Really bad. Don't play retail as a single player. And that kind of goes over to classic as well. You'll be sitting in queues. You'll be just having people waste your time. It's just not a fun experience. And there is an element with GDKPs, although it's not a guild, they'll often be run by people in a guild. There'll be guild name GDKP, and there'll be a consistent group. There'll be consistent leadership, and then they're just trying to get people in who are gonna, want to buy gear or have good passes, one or the other. So yeah, I do see the benefit.
But
yeah, it's weird
you
to
see
me.
the same people week after week. You usually see the same people. Like the GDKP that I run,
the
it's
leadership,
often most the same people. So it does. It feels
various alts, right?
Yeah, on different alts, or and then there is some other people that you might not know or raid with much, but I mean it's still a community too at the same time.
Yeah, GDKP, I completely, again, I get exactly what Will is saying, because I feel the same. It's hard to put into words, but it feels weird when I'm in a GDKP. It don't feel like I'm raiding. I feel like I'm just waiting for that trade window to open up at the end. And nothing feels as exciting, even though it arguably should feel more exciting when these items drop and, you see big amounts of like gold going into the pot. But I don't know. I feel, it's weird. I like raiding and gold to be separate. I don't want to buy gold with gear with gold, even if I'm acquiring that gold from a raid. It's just me.
There was a time in phase 1, I was farming Karazhan on my rogue. I was doing some like crazy stuff, fan of knives, AoEing dozens of mobs at once. And like I thought I'd figured out like a pretty cool thing, a creative way I can use my character to farm gold. And I streamed that one day. I streamed for like 4 hours. I made about 2,000 gold, a little over 500 an hour. And I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. And I was done with my stream. And then like I was talking to one of my guild mates, and they're like, yeah, I just got out of a Nax Ramus GDKP. It took me, just about 2 hours to do Nax, Sartharian, and Malagos. And the payout was 5,000 gold. And I just like sat there and I was like, I just did Karazhan for 4 hours and made 2,000 gold. This guy went to a GDKP. He had did a cool and interesting raid that took half as much time and made 2.5 as much gold as me. And I was like, all right, I'm leveling more rogues. Because there's so much gold in play in a GDKP, and again, it just never leaves the system. There's nothing to tax it out of the system. Because there's so much there, it makes it so like any other form of gold farming, save for maybe like PvP arena boosts or like large scale auction house manipulation, like anything outside of that just pales in comparison. It's like not a way to generate gold.
Well, and so you talk about so you talked about the AH. So we have a guy named Kim Jong-un. He's been in our guild forever. He's been manipulating the auction house like crazy since vanilla. He's basically, I think it started in Nax maybe, but he pays for every not every, because the super sweaty people, we use more consumes than he gives. But I mean, you get all your we've gotten all of our consumes for sure through TBC and Wrath through him, and like he's just working the auction house, and like he makes he's going for 1 mil by the end of Wrath, but he doesn't know if he's going to get it because he's buying he's buying both legendaries on 2 different characters, so he's not sure if he's going to make it. But I mean, he's made over 3-time gold cap, and he's like, I try to get him to come to like little off runs with alts, and he's like, sorry Bob, like I could just go to a GDKP and for sure get it when it drops. Like no one can beat me in gold. So it's kind of a bummer, because like people like that are just like, why would I do anything else when I could just for sure always get it when it drops?
That's the thing. Yeah, it's when you can put a price on it, you start doing the maths, and you're like,
Yep.
is this even though it's a video game, and at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter how you spend your free time because it's free time. I don't know. If part of me doesn't want to think about it like that, but I realize it's hard not to when you're aware of it, you can't ignore it anymore.
Isn't it funny that we were talking about the WoW token and we've actually spent more time talking about GDKP? That really says a lot about the WoW token, don't
exactly. That's all it
intertwined.
changed. Yeah, that's all. Like, it does not hurt your average, and that's something true that they said. It does not change really anything for a guild raider or a 3SR raider.
Like the blue post they put up where they say it doesn't really make a difference. I kind of agree with it. If I was a casual player, I could buy one token and I would not spend that gold until Kata. Like, if that, and that's if you're a little bit behind. Maybe you're like, oh, I want to get epic flying. That's is it still 4 or 5k in Wrath?
Yeah, 5k with I think a faction discount, you get a little less.
Yeah. Okay. I thought they might have discounted it. It feels like they've discounted all the other mount stuff in Wrath, but
you'll be able to buy it on the store soon anyway.
Yeah, just pop it, a nice 20 quid.
There is a discount for
400% fly speed.
I don't know what it is.
Or did you want to say something, Bob?
No. I was just saying there is a discount on the mount, riding skill. I just can't think of what it is.
I know they made regular mounts and epic mounts and regular flying cheaper, but I didn't know that. Another thing I want to mention actually is regarding the whole WoW token thing, and not GDKP surprisingly, is I think after hearing about the token, there's a portion of people who haven't played the game in a long time but are now concerned that RMT or tokens shop services may get backported at some time to vanilla, where I think can all agree gold matters a hell of a lot more. Like, it genuinely is really important for everyone, even if you're a casual player to like some giga speedrunner. It matters for everyone a lot. And if there were the token or other shop services in vanilla, be it on hardcore servers, season 2 of whatever they're doing, that's
hardcore would be horrible.
A concern a lot of people have. Even though they don't, a lot of people probably don't play Wrath anymore, but they heard about the token, they're just kind of back to, voice those concerns, maybe indirectly.
I mean, they had promised us in interviews before that, like, oh, the WoW token's not for Classic. They've literally told us it's never coming to Classic. And lo and behold, it is now in Wrath and the Lich King Classic. So, and now they say, oh, it's never coming to Vanilla Classic. It's like, fool me once.
The thing is, are we really playing Classic anymore? That's why as well it don't really bother me, because I'm like, well, this ain't even Wrath of the Lich King Classic. This is like retail 2.0 now, or retail 0.5.
It is very different.
I mean,
one thing I thought of is like these GDKPs, the system of like bidding on stuff has a lot of advantages that I talked about, but like the big downside is that, okay, it creates this huge incentive for real money transaction. And I thought, can you have like a other currency or a other point system? Is there a way to design a loot system that like has a lot of the benefits of GDKP that doesn't have the downside of being exploitable through real money transaction?
Just DKP.
It's basically DKP, yeah. But like DKP is like tied to one guild. You can't, that guild falls apart, your points go away. I thought, like, what if you let players bid on items with their emblems of triumph? And then like, there's like an interface within the game that's like, you bid on the item with your emblems of triumph or emblem of whatever. So like everyone going to the raid gets something valuable. Like now the emblems that they like aren't really very valuable because there's a very limited number of things you buy with them, and then you're like, okay, these are just going to accumulate.
But gems coming out.
It would have a lot of the same things, but not have that weakness of being exploitable by RMT. And just like GDKP came onto the scene and like spread like wildfire because it was popular, because it had these advantages over the other loot systems. Man, if you could introduce just a superior loot system to GDKP, you wouldn't have to even ban it. You would.
I think that's really interesting, actually, because if you was to think about it, most of that would already be in place. So
right, the emblems are there already.
You've got emblems, you've got the currency vendor in the sewers where you could then sell your emblems to him for gold. So you could still have a gold attachment, a gold value to each emblem.
Yeah, I didn't think of that.
Reason to farm, so you would be doing your daily heroics and all of that to get as many emblems as you can to then bid on items in raids.
Yeah.
You'd be getting emblems from the raid plus emblems from the players that go into the pot that then get split amongst everyone, and then you go and trade them in for gold.
And you couldn't buy.
Maybe you would. Right? Maybe you would just delete the emblems after they get bid on, and then you wouldn't have like emblem inflation within the guild. That's just like, it's a rough idea. Maybe you delete them. Maybe you redistribute them at the end.
And it's in game, right? Like it's in game. So the game would take it, and then
you'd have like
group loot,
master looter, group loot, free for all, and then you'd select emblem auction or whatever as the loot mode for your raid.
And then you couldn't buy emblems. Like that is interesting. That's a very interesting thought.
Yeah, it would be interesting, 100%. And on the basis that emblems are there for loot, it's their their purpose of existing.
Yeah, it's almost there already. A lot of the machinery around it is already in the game.
I have a
but then no one would want to buy the token.
People running GDKP.
No one would want to buy the token.
You would just buy a 20-pack of emblems.
That's true.
People running GDKPs would. I'm pretty sure they'd want to carry on doing gold, even if that existed. That's the problem.
Yeah. You have a lot of players that are like really enfranchised. They have like a whole bunch of gold. And like going to GDKP is an advantage for them because they have a huge pile of gold. So it could be hard to pull people away from that. And certainly you'd have sticklers that would just stay with that. But a lot of these people that are raiding Ulduar every week, I know on 3 different of my characters, I have a pile of 400 emblems already. Like I have a lot of
400 on each character.
Yeah.
There's a bit of a hypothetical that it's like at this point, like if you added this in at this point, would it even be good? Would it do what it wants to? But I think it would, a loot system that competes with GDKP, as a better system that's more desirable for people to attend. If you could implement that into the game, you would squish it, in a week.
Yeah, I think that would be something like that. Would be really interesting, personally. I think something like that. Maybe a seasonal server would be a perfect place to test it. Implement it from scratch where no one's already got loads of emblems or loads of whatever. I really like that idea actually.
I do too.
It's interesting. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that.
Does anybody have any last thoughts? I mean, I don't like it. But I'm fine with it. Does that make sense? That's how I feel. Like, the only thing that bums me out, one of the big things is that Guildie that's been broke forever was like in raid the night that the token came out. They're like, I have over 100,000 gold. I'm like, what? I worked for my gold, damn it. I did GDKPs and farmed and but at the same time, he's a good guy, so I'm happy that he's able to have gold now. He works a lot, doesn't have a ton of time. So So I don't know. I don't really like it, but I'm fine with it.
My guild's trying to go up to 3 split raids rather than 2 in the next phase, and I'm just like, with the token in and me refusing to do real money transaction, whether that's through Blizzard or third-party websites, is like with the token being in, so many more people are going to be doing real money transaction. I feel like I will be at a significant disadvantage if I continue doing GDKP ratings. Like, man, my guild's going up to 3 splits. I'll just send all 3 of my characters to my guild raids and just completely separate myself from this problem.
I think it's going to be the same, Simon, because like I think it's only going to be crazy whales that are scared to go to third-party sites because $6K for $20. Like, I think like Crix was on Classic Life yesterday or the day before, and was like he looked up G2G and it was like $7 for 6K gold or something like that. And it's just like I think the same people that bought from third parties are still going to buy from them, but I wonder if Blizzard's going to crack down harder now because but it'll be interesting to see, because if they do that, you'll be like, well, so you could have done it all along then, huh?
I mean, if they really want to get rid of GDKP, there's a very easy way to do it. It's called personal loot, and it's gone overnight.
We were talking about that. Yeah, we were talking about personal loot last night on a drunken rant, actually. Yeah.
When was that put in? Was it?
But then you just stack classes and trade it, right?
I believe.
Isn't that what they did? They'd stack a whole bunch of classes and they'd just trade.
You had the reroll token.
Yeah, you got the extra rolls, like the 3 rolls, but it might have been WoD. I thought it was mob.
Loot. Like proper force personal loot, as in no choice.
Oh, with no choice. Oh yeah, I'm not sure.
I think that was BFA.
Yeah, it was later on. Oh no, it was definitely before BFA, wasn't it? I didn't play BFA.
Oh, maybe it was then.
Oh, well, here, before we actually move past this, I totally forgot about Mega Man's.
A long time ago.
Sorry. Oh, you were still trying to think of it? Sorry, my bad. I was going to play.
Sure when the force personal loot was, but that's all right.
Oh, you're fine. You're fine. It's me that keeps interrupting. I'm going to play Mega Man's voicemail because maybe he has something different to say. I totally forgot to play this.
Hello, Bob, Scotty, and Willie. Don't use the last one, Bob. Use this one. I'm a little brain scattered right now because I've been trying to get all my thoughts on the token in my head. So my biggest thing I'd say about the token, I don't think it hurts the game because honestly, we've been endorsing pay to win since Classic TBC when GKP has become the primary gearing source. And this does link into Simonize's videos regarding parsing. It's all connected. GDKPs, parsing mentality, they all get connected. You need higher gear score to do those bigger parses, and that's what people judge players by. It's not how they should. The one thing I will say that I do agree with, if they had implemented RDF, random dungeon finder, with the token, I don't think it was stung as badly. So I guess what the question I have is this. The pay-to-win mentality or mid-max mentality, do you think that's what got us here? Because I very much think it is. I mean, what is the classic experience? It's raiding with your friends and getting gear that way, not going in basically a slot machine and bidding everybody up. And you're more encouraged to do that if GDKPs, and that's why you need this mass amount of gold, because it's not raid consumes. Unless you're buying that 120K mount, what the heck else do you need that mass amount of gold? Could Blizzard have done more for botting? Yes, I do agree. However, I also think, if the market didn't exist, it wouldn't be a problem either. So I do think it is partly our fault too. What could Blizzard, and maybe, we could look at gearing structures too, but that's a whole nother topic. Anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. Hope you guys all have a good podcast. And I guess one final thing I would like to say to everyone there. Where do you think this will lead? Do you think this is really going to change Classic? Because at this point, I don't know what the Classic player base wants anymore. Because it's not the way the original game played. And at this point, as frightening as it sounds, I think it's more mid-maxy than Dragonflight at this point. Anyway, hope you all have a good show.
I'll tell you what was funny, that when he actually said, so my question is this, and then it paused. I was hoping he'd just hung up, because that would have been really funny. We're all just sat here is he going to ask anything? I got to admit, just firing off quickly, I don't agree with the whole min-maxing thing he said, because that's not new to Classic, as in we've been min-maxing this game since for the last 19 years. I remember spending all of my time while I was at work looking and typing and talking on elitist jerks every single day. You know, we would be looking at every single way to shred one more bit of, excuse the pun,
from day
one
one.
more bit of DPS out on a feral druid. You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, it's not. That's
I will
not
give him.
changed.
There's more people doing it now. Like I was extremely good back in the day because I was one of the smaller population that looked up everything, read elitist jerks forums, like asked questions in there, like tested stuff out. But that wasn't. I think now that's the majority of the population,
Yeah, there's a
rather
bigger
than the minority.
expectation. Yeah, there's an expectation now that everybody researches, everybody reads Discord, everybody, yeah. Put just is you when someone joins your raid and they are really poorly performing, might not be a very good player. I think that's actually rarer to see now. I just think the actual player base as a whole, there's more good than bad, whereas it used to be the complete opposite. You'd get an absolute god join your raid and be like, oh wow, like this is amazing, and that wouldn't happen that often. You know, it's like it's done a full turn. But
yeah, I'd agree with Scotty that our caller's suggestion that the min-max culture has led to the rise of GDKP rating. I think that's not the right connection. I mean, I think GDKP rating is just like an inherently good loot system. So like people started trying it and it caught on. You know, it's popular. It's emergent player behavior. They figured out a better way that a lot of people view as better way to organize, you know, their raids. So like they do it.
And just like we talked about it, like lots of the GDKPs run better. I remember trying to get certain guildies to do 10-mans, but these guildies had a lot of gold. So these guildies were like going to do GDKP 10-mans. Like they were still loyal to the guild for 25-mans, but like they were like, I need these things and I don't want to do a 4-hour run and teach people how to do the fights. So they're like, I'm just going to go do this. So Ulduar hard modes, I think, have led to a little bit more seeking out good GDKPs, whereas I think TOC, you'll be able to get away with going on a lot of like lower end GDKPs, whereas Ulduar, if you want 54 or 53, like you got to get into a high end one, right? Because it's actually hard.
The second part of his question as well was, where he said, where do we think this is going to lead? I mean, the implementation, and this, you could say it is a bit of a tinfoil hat moment, but, the implementation of the WoW token does suggest that Classic is just going to carry on. No matter what they do with seasonal servers and whatever else, we are getting Cata Classic, no matter what anyone says, because again, they wouldn't go to this effort to, halfway through, well, I'd arguably say over halfway through WRAF now, implement a WoW token for it to not be relevant in 5 months' time. So yeah. I do see it just carrying on, which I think many of us did. But I'll tell you something that's actually really, really funny. So I mentioned Cata. I can't remember exactly in what context, but I mentioned it in a few videos back. And somebody commented on it saying, no, I'm done. As soon as I kill Lich King 25 heroic, that's the end of WRAF for me. Like, I'll be gone. And then he commented, exactly the same guy. And the only, when someone leaves a comment like that, I don't know, their name sticks in your head. The same guy commented on my WoW token video yesterday, saying, how outraged he was, and like, it makes me not even want to play the game, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why do you care that much if you are only going to play the game for another 5 months anyway? How can you be that invested, yet you've already got your end date? You know when you're quitting playing. Surely it's that sort of person who should be like, I don't give a shit. They can literally implement what they want because, in 2 raids, I'm gone.
It's the same type of people that are all pissed off about the hardcore server and not having the same rules as the solo self-found. It's like, what do you care what they do? Like, I did the hardcore challenge to prove to myself that I could do something really hard. Like, and that was freaking fun. And I don't care if somebody cheats and claims that they did the same thing. I don't give a shit. Like, they're going to know in their mind that they cheated, and they are not going to feel as good as me. And like, That's all. Like, I don't care what other people do. And if other people want to do the challenge different, who cares? But but yeah, Kata here. Let me just say this one thing. You talk about Kata. I was for sure never going to play. I was for sure going to quit and maybe do like Classic Era, do something else. But I was for sure going to quit until Willie and Scotty came on. God, episode shit. It was before. I think it was before Wrath even came out, like, or something, like, because
it was definitely a while back.
it was when the Cataclysm survey came out. You guys throughout that talked me into it and actually reminded me that there were definitely a few things I hated, but I didn't hate everything. And like, it wasn't as bad as I remembered in my head. So like, I'm going to play now because of you too in that episode. Like, I don't know if I'll be playing as much.
That's the thing. You're like me, you know, Simon, you're the same, Willie, you know, we like raiding, you know, for us, that is what we log on to do the vast majority of the time. And the raids from Wrath onwards just get better and better. Like, you know, when I mention stuff like this and they're angrily commenting like, oh, go play retail. It's like, well, no, because that is completely different. You know, you can't compare Kata, Mop, even Warlords of Draenor. They do slowly make their way towards what retail is today, but there's still some years left in the tank where it's actually still feels different. You know, it still feels closer to Classic than it does to retail. But like I say, I keep saying Classic. We need to stop referring to it as Classic because it's not that anymore. You know, we're on a very different path, and I think Cataclysm will even look very different.
We could just call it round 2.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
there's been some kind of, I don't know, some divide almost that's happening. Because obviously we've got the WoW token now in Wrath. Like, I'm full on Tinfold. They're putting the retail UI in the next phase, by the way. I think they're going to try and cater towards getting more new people in who have a different wave of nostalgia for Cataclysm and beyond. So I think the writing is very much on the wall for going to Kata and, you know, expansions after that with Classic. But I think a lot of people still hear Classic and they think vanilla, whereas, you know, the differences in the game from vanilla to Wrath are enormous.
Absolutely.
It's changed so much. Pretty much everything about the game, you know, the pacing of raids, the time investment needed, the time to level, how alt-friendly Wrath is, you know, heirlooms.
I love how alt-friendly Wrath is.
So much different stuff. See, I can almost see there being retail, and then there's sort of, you know, Wrath where it is at the moment, Kata and beyond, and then Blizzard exploring stuff with just vanilla. With, you know, seasonal servers, they'll do hardcore, who knows how long that'll last for, and so on.
I'm well excited for Kata. I genuinely am. You know, like, I was really excited for Wrath. I still love Wrath. You know, literally, TBC, I'm more or less just, even though I was still logging on, you know, I never took TBC particularly serious because I knew TBC was a stepping stone to Wrath, but it's now, and every expansion that comes after it, you know, up until about Warlords of Draenor, you know, I absolutely love every single raid. Every raid just gets better and better. And the first tier of content in Kata is just fire. It's just so good.
This is one of the reasons why I got into raiding properly in Cataclysm, heroic raiding, doing the first tier and 10-man, stuff like that, playing a restoration druid. And I'm so interested to see how it pans out the second time around. Like, well, how was my class on the last patch? Were the raids really that hard, or did we just suck? Because some stuff in the past I've done, like doing Magister's Terrace heroic. Back in the day, I was like, damn, this is so hard. I was playing my priest, and I just mind control stuff on every pack. So I'm like, this is better than actually playing my class. And these days, we kind of just rolled over it like normal mode. So yeah, I'm very interested to see how the raids pan out. But
well, I've been doing the first tier of raids somewhere, and you know, just somewhere, and honestly, they are actually really, I'm not going to say really challenging, you know, but they are really interesting. I forgot just how interesting some of the fights are. Like Atramedes, where you get the sound bar and you have to go and hit the gongs. It's like, it's so much fun. You know, that's the thing. It's like raiding actually being fun.
What I'm concerned about is, like, I never played Cataclysm originally, save for, like,
Rogue gets really
I went
good,
and
Simon.
I did my archaeology and then I logged off. I never did the raids. What I'm concerned about is, like, people say, oh, I keep getting comments like, oh, you can't handle mechanics now. Just wait till Kata. You're going to have to get good. Kata's so hard. I hear this comment and it gets in my head that like, is Cataclysm actually hard? Because like, I feel like these Ulduar hard modes, they're so difficult, it's exhausting. I think the Ulduar hard modes are too difficult. And if Cataclysm is another whole expansion of the raids being at that level of difficulty, it's just exhausting to research bosses before I go in and fight them and have to keep track of a dozen half dozen mechanics at once. Mimiron's a perfect example of this. It's like 6 mechanics at once. They're all basic mechanics, but it's not fun to engage with. It's just tiresome. It's like, don't step on the mines, don't stand in the fire, move out of the rocket barrage, don't stand in that, move away from the ice bomb. It's like, they're all very simple, but it's just like, it's not fun. There's too much going on, and a lot of them,
as someone who's done them all, Simon, I would honestly say that Kata is less about it being overly difficult and more about really well-designed encounters. The fights themselves, they may be quite punishing if you do something wrong, but yeah, they're not like massively hectic. They are just really fun encounters. The thing which I'm hoping when it does go to Kata Classic is we do get the pre-nerf heroic 5-mans, because everyone remembers them. Like, that's what everyone remembers of Kata, is how hard those 5-man heroics are. And honestly, they're not. I just think we was worse players then, and we was in that Wrath mindset where it's like, ignore everything and nuke. Just don't worry about anything. And whereas in 5-mans, if you let an interrupt go through, your group's probably going to die. If you stand in something for too long, you're probably going to die. So it's less about it being really hard and more about, the basic mechanics being quite punishing. It's fun.
That sounds good to me. And that's the first time I've heard someone praise Cataclysm in a way that actually makes me interested. So that's kind of cool. And you'd mentioned something about just do more damage. That's the best thing about Classic. It's like, boss has a mechanic. Screw the mechanic. Just do more damage to bypass it. Kill the boss before it does the mechanic. That is victory to me. And like, something I did recently is on the PTR, like, we did the faction champions. They all have this stupid buff that says like reduces AoE damage taken by 75%. And it's like, very clearly, Blizzard does not want you to AoE this encounter down. But it's like, if you look at your damage dealer's total throughput doing like single target damage versus doing AoE on 12 targets but reduced by 75%. Their throughput's still higher when they AoE 12 targets. And so my guild went there.
Count as AoE, right? Like, poisons.
There's a handful of things that you can apply in an AoE that aren't going to get reduced. So my guild went there and we're like, all right, let's try this. Let's AoE down this encounter. And we did it. And it was so much easier. We didn't have a dozen different like crowd control assignments and like only single target. Don't do pestilence because it'll spread disease onto the polymorph and this and that. Just like, okay, we're going to do stuns and we're going to do interrupts, stuff that doesn't break on damage. And then we're going to AoE it down. Our kill speed was faster. It was like way easier, less stressful of an encounter. And I'm like, that is victory.
I'm really jealous at the moment because we didn't even try that. We killed it so many times and never actually tried it. But that does sound fun.
I watched your video, Simon, and this is the exact question I was talking about when I was like, when we talk about it in the news, I'm going to ask you. Like, I have a few questions. This fight and that strategy is what I wanted to ask. But here, before we go on to that, anything else to say? Because I'll just move us on.
Nope, I'm good.
I'm good.
The token, GDKPs, all of that.
I say token, thumbs down, GDKPs, thumbs up. That's my official stance. Flip it and ship it.
Flip it and ship it. All right. Let's move on to time for the news. All right, just to let everybody know, the Call of the Crusade patch launches June 20th, and the raid launches June 22nd. Suck it, Classic Go. Last week, I was on point and exactly right about the dates. First time ever, but I'll take it. some
Why are we
people-
still getting global releases of classic content and even retail don't get that? It confuses me every time.
That was a whole big drama thing with the recent race to the world first, right? Like one of the top competitive guilds got it like 6 hours before the other one. And then it's like, who actually won? The person who cleared, the team that cleared it first, or the team that cleared it in fewer hours since it was released?
Mm-hmm. It does confuse me. I see. I've
Global
always
release it. It's not that hard.
But I always thought the global release on a Thursday was because of China. That was what I was always under the assumption.
Same. But they always got an extra lockout because there's resets at a different time. So they'd get like an extra raid lockout somehow. I forget how. I think they reset on Fridays. So they could do the raid once the day it released or something like that. I don't want to say. I forget exactly how it went.
I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea. I mean, I don't mind the global release, but always having to raid at midnight when stuff comes out is kind of annoying.
Oh
yeah, I'm saying it selfishly, Willie. Yeah, for us, it's a nightmare.
Yeah, if you're in America, it's like 3 p.m.
Yeah, 5 p.m. for me. Yeah, it's perfect.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty good. You know,
it is a long break though. From like the arena season ending and stuff, like that was why. I mean, I should have been wrong, but like Go didn't think about Diablo. You know, I think a lot of people didn't think about Diablo, and rightfully so, because Blizzard like has put out like raids and different products like many times, you know, and overlapped. Like we always thought it was a bad idea, but I guess this time they really agreed and, you know, actually postponed the starting.
I think they know that there's a lot of classic players that are going to be playing Diablo 4. There's a lot of retail players that will be as well. But yeah, I think it's a no-brainer that there's going to be. I don't think I've spoke to someone other than Willie, actually, who said that they're not bothered about it. The vast majority of people are like, yeah, I'm there, launch night.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's playing it. Yeah, absolutely. I think Blizzard are very much clearing the calendar. So to speak, so that, you know, D4 does have a good few weeks by itself. Yeah, if you can get that out of the way, then back to whatever you're doing normally.
Okay, like I want to know the ins and outs of this fight, Simon, because all I was able to take from it was that each of the rogues, you had 3 rogues, all of you had deadly on, and then one rogue had mind numbing, one had wound, and one had crippling. And then each of you were like locking down, kicking, and if you had to, kick wasn't up, then using a cheap shot to keep one mob locked down. What was everybody else doing? Because that was awesome to watch, but I don't know how you kept people off the healers, etc.
So yeah, the approach was essentially an AoE Zerg, and the rogues were doing what I think is pretty critical. Maybe the mind-numbing poison wasn't that important, but the crippling and the wound were very important. Basically, they're doing, you know, just enough single target stuff to lock down. Like I was assigned to a warlock, one of the other rogues was assigned to the paladin enemy, and the other rogue was assigned to like the priest healer or whatever, to just interrupt as many spells as they could while spamming Fan of Knives. And the point was that you would spread Fan of Knives and it would apply poisons to everyone. So all the enemies had a 70% slow from crippling poison. They had 50% reduction in healing received from wound poison, and they had 60% cast speed slow from mind-numbing poison. And those things together really inhibit the enemy mob's ability to deal damage to your raid. So even though you're not crowd controlling all of them, the like melee mobs are very easily kited. Like when someone, you know, when the warrior enemy, like, you know, tunnel visions your warlock or whatever, the warrior's moving with 70% speed reduction. They're not going anywhere. It's very easy for the warlock to take a few steps away and have, you know, 10 seconds of, you know, before the warrior even gets to them. And then some of the damage we were dealing, like with deadly poison, is effectively applied in an AoE, but it's applying a debuff to the target, so it's not suffering from that 75% reduction. When the unholy Death Knights, or Death Knights at all, are spreading their diseases among multiple targets with Pestilence, that's not an AoE damage spell. It's just applying those debuffs. So no penalty there either.
Okay.
The only kind of spells that would get a penalty is like a mage's arcane explosion or a warlock's seed of corruption that like is specifically the spell dealing AoE damage. That's going to get nerfed by this 75% reduction, but like it still might be more total throughput for them. Everyone was told to do the maximum total throughput. And if you don't have good AoE, then yeah, okay, you still single target like in a kill order. Like warriors don't have like insane AoE that scales up to like a high point like that. And like enhancement shaman maybe can't do that much. Like they could drop their fire nova totem every once in a while, but they're still mostly single target. So like the people that don't have these really strong AoE abilities, yeah, they're still doing like kill the healer first, then the second healer, then like this caster or whatever.
Was you gripping, like using DKs to grip the melee ones back in when they run out? Was you like going, above and beyond to try and keep everything stacked?
Yeah. Everything's trying to be stuck together. And if the melee, if any of the mobs did run away, like the hunter tends to run away quite a bit too. Yep. Grip them back in, pull them back in. And then like with 3 rogues and like we had at least 1 warrior, we had a fair number of disarms. It was pretty easy to just like tab over to the warrior, disarm him or whatever periodically. Like he'd still blade storm sometimes, and it's like, okay,
I think it's really interesting. As I say, I'm jealous that we didn't try it because like we killed it multiple times in multiple clears, but it's less about how like the fight being difficult, and it's more about just how long it takes. When you're CC and everything.
Our kill speed with the AoE strategy like was coming in like just over 3 minutes.
Yeah, that's
and like if we do it better,
ask.
like we're
That's
probably
awesome.
going to get under 3 minutes.
Because I was going to ask what your kill speed was, because we were doing it what felt like pretty fast, and we were getting around 5.5. So
yeah,
I think ours was even slower than that. To be fair, just
like I just liked it because
I thought we were doing good, by the way, at 5.5.
It felt so much simpler than having all this stuff of like you polymorph that and you crowd control this and no one do any AoE, even though like some classes had like AoE in their basic rotation. It's like, no, just blast it.
Yeah, just press your buttons. No,
Yeah.
I mean, one of the things I was excited about for Trial of the Crusader was seeing how people speedrun faction champions. There's no other fight like it ever. So yeah, I guess if people are able to just stack them up and blow them up,
AoE them down. Yeah.
You give me 12 mobs, you can't blame me for pressing my AoE ability. Okay.
What's better, 12 mobs or 75% less damage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One other that I was really interested in was Anubarak, where you have 90 seconds till he burrows, and then he burrows for 60 seconds. And like the whole burrow phase is like a major mechanic of the fight. In the 10-mans that I did on the PTR, we were already able to burn him to sub 30% before the burrow phase. And of course, I looked at that and I'm like, can we do this in 25-man? So I like did some calculations of like, well, how damage do we need to do? How many damage dealers can we bring? And it's like, I looked at it, it's like the top like speed boss killing guilds have about enough damage to do this right now, but that's in a comp that has like 1 tank and 2 healers. If you're doing a Nubarak, you need a little bit more than that. But if the top guilds, even in that situation, have that much damage right now, I think you will be able to kill a Nubarak 25-man heroic. You'll burn him to sub 30% before the end of the phase. Like you get enough extra gear from Trial of the Crusader. So that's like what I'm looking forward to as kind of the biggest goal of the phase is like get a raid that's stacked enough to be able to overcome that hurdle.
Yeah, that is going to be a giga stacked raid.
And then just let the ads burrow.
Yeah,
let the ads
just
burrow and just nuke the boss.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's something I saw actually in a lot of I saw some 10-man things. It's like raids that like weren't even AoEing or cleaving the ads. Like they just didn't care. Let them burrow and then they're not a problem. And they just focused more damage on the boss.
That's what we do in 25-man. So we kill the ads that are already up as we go into the last phase. Yep. And then any new ads that come, just let them burrow and nuke the boss.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, they should borrow by the time the second set come in, and then the third set wipe you. But that's not. I mean, it's a DPS check anyway, kind of thing. The last phase, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, they did change they say block is working as intended with the block sets, but I swear in the community council that they said they changed it. But like,
yeah, that was like a big idea that like the block flat damage reduction would apply before the percentage increase from the debuff that the ads apply to the tank. And if you could do that, if you could make a flat reduction down to like each auto attack dealing 5 damage, then it didn't matter if you had, 1,000% increased damage taken. Okay, now you took a hit for 5,000. That's still nothing. But it's not working that way. It's like the percentage increase is happening first in the calculation, then the flat damage reduction. So with that calculation order, you can't really cheese this tank mechanic. You can't really negate all the damage the burrowers deal by having a tank with a giant shield that blocks everything.
And I mean, I think it's a good thing that they changed it. I mean, I'm pissed that
100%.
I'm pissed that I farmed the whole block set, but besides
I don't think it really makes the fight any more difficult anyway. It's like, even if you was to 3 tank it, it's still not making the fight overly difficult. But back on what you said, Simon, about doing 10-man, we was doing loads of, we done a lot more 10-mans than we done 25s. I think we only done like 6 25-mans, over the 2 PTRs, but we done back-to-back 10-mans like all day long. And we got to a point where we was 1 tank, 1 healing. Yeah, everything. All 5 bosses.
We had an attempt on 10-man. We didn't do that many, but we had 1 10-man attempt where we just tried to 1 tank the entire raid. And like, we didn't quite get a Nubarak down. It was getting really late, but we got it close enough to be like blatantly obvious that like, yeah, you could do this. You could 1 tank it. Gosh, there's more interesting stuff I learned about the PTR that about the Twin Valkyrs. I feel like I'm talking a lot. I could talk about Twin Valkyrs, some interesting essence mechanics.
No.
So the essence mechanic on Twin Valkyr, for the audience that maybe doesn't know, is you pick either dark essence or light essence. When you start the fight, there's like 4 portals around the room, 2 dark and 2 light, and you click on one of them and it gives you a debuff. It's like either dark essence or light essence. And then during the fight, there's a lot of different sources of light damage and dark damage. And, that's actually fire damage and shadow damage, but like, whatever. This is what it's called in the fight. And if you're dark essence and you take dark damage, you absorb the damage. It doesn't hurt you, and you gain little stacks of a powering up debuff. And you get to 100, then you get like a temporary huge damage boost. Okay, cool, whatever. What was figured out was that if you're using damage reduction effects, like a rogue's feint ability is what first came to my attention, because of course, rogue guy. Feint is a thing that reduces your AoE damage taken by 50% for 6 seconds, or like a warrior's shield wall, or feral druids have a like passive talent, I believe, that reduces their AoE damage taken. All these things, those reduction things happen before the check for the essence. Let me explain that better. Your dark essence, you get hit by some dark damage. When you absorb that damage because you're a dark essence, you gain stacks of that little buff that gives you a power boost proportional to the damage absorbed. What's happening is feint's damage reduction is reducing the damage first, then it goes on to check your essence. And then absorb that and give you stacks proportional to how much damage. So using feint and using shield wall and having that feral druid passage is reducing the rate at which you accumulate these stacks and get that damage power up.
Wow.
Which is kind of a big deal. And if you have a shadow resistance aura or a fire resistance aura, that's also factoring in before the essence-based absorption and reducing the stacks you gain. And Power Word Shield from a priest, same thing. That's happening first, and then you get your essence-based absorption. So like we had really big differences between some players, like particularly rogues. Like one guy who's sitting there, like myself, spamming feint every chance I get. So I have
Every
this
10
50% reduction. It's like I basically never got empowered whatever darkness, damage buff. So there's like a really interesting mechanic to learn about that's how that was working, and that's why we weren't seeing that damage buff. So you gotta, I don't know, it's weirdly punishing to use these defensive abilities. And I say it's weird because like you take your dark essence, you take some dark damage, your essence was going to absorb all of that damage anyways. Like you're you weren't going to get hurt, but feint is still like the damage reduction is still like interjecting itself in there and screwing you.
So that's
Yeah.
why on that fight sometimes I barely got the buff until the end of it, because I play a demo lock, so I have like Soul Link and stuff up. So I guess click off Soul Link
Yeah,
for
take more
a
damage.
damage buff.
Oh yeah, I bet again, as long as the wrong orbs are not coming in, you're not going to take
Right.
much
So
extra
I gained
damage. Yeah.
20% more, whatever it's called, the power up buff. Yeah, okay. I know that. That's that makes a lot of sense actually, but
Yeah,
luckily the boss just falls over anyway.
Yeah, right.
yeah, that too. But I guess if you're trying to go fast, then
the safe strategy is still probably like do all these defensive so you reduce the damage from like the opposite element things that get through. Like you want to see your 50 attempt cloak. It's like okay,
yeah,
you're still gonna be playing the safe strat.
Yeah, I like Twins though. Twins is a fun fight, to be fair.
yeah, get to see big numbers. That's always
Big
fun.
number.
Very
simple.
Yeah,
it's just crazy how fast it dies. It's like when you're comparing it to bosses in Alduar, like hard mode bosses, and then you go in and every boss is dead before it hardly does any mechanics. It's like, I mean, that's the thing that interests me most is like how long are we going to be doing TOC for? Because it's going to be a seriously bad time for people to burn out. When ICC's coming up, which is like going to be amazing. That's going to be so much fun that like TOC just shouldn't last long, because I think
it
a
needs
month
to be
everyone's going to be bored. Yeah,
I mean,
really
we're
does.
on week 19 of Ulduar right now. Like, the TOC needs to be like 2, maybe 3 months top.
Yeah,
I'd say 3 months tops, maybe less.
Yeah, I think they're planning an expansion of like ups and downs with the raids. So we have a shorter phase 1, longer phase 2, shorter phase 3, and then we'll have can have as long as you want on ICC really. Apart from Ruby Sanctum at some point, they'll probably just chuck it out alongside it. Why not?
Yeah.
Or very shortly after. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there's good items in there, if I remember right, trinkets and stuff. But
yeah, the trinkets, especially like the armor pen trinket, is absolutely amazing. Scowl.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean,
Warriors finally will have their time.
What are all your thoughts though, like on TOC? Because I'll be honest with you, again, I'm normally in a little camp on my own with my opinions, but I love TOC. I actually think it's a great raid. I enjoy doing it. I just won't enjoy doing it for 6 months.
I agree. I've been on the PTR. I've been having fun with it, and like I've had people come into my chat and be like, Simon, why are you enjoying this? I saw a video. This was actually, I want to bring it up because it was just so funny. Someone was like, I saw a video that had 1 million views. It said this was the worst raid ever. How can you possibly enjoy this? And I had to explain, be like, what? I'm having fun. I don't care what whatever other video says. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's going to be short. I'm going to almost certainly still be raiding Ulduar for basically the full phase. That's where the bulk of the raiding time-wise is going to happen. But, like, seeing the new bosses, finding new ways to defeat the intended strategies, do them our own ways is always exciting. I love that. Well, why do mechanics when you can just do more damage? That's my mantra for all of Classic, and I love it.
Pump up those numbers, yeah. I mean, I found the fights in there pretty fun. Like, I was saying, Twin Valkyries is good. There's not too many this mechanic's annoying mechanics, apart from the snowballs.
I was about to say, what about the snowballs as a healer? Because they are really
Apart from
annoying.
them, they suck.
Snowballs are important. They let you cleave on that boss. It's
Yeah.
very
Alright, it's the
important.
and the maidens on Jiraxxus, when they pick you up and do that spinny move, I don't even know what it's called, but that's kind of annoying too. Apart from that, there's a lot of cleave too, which is kind of fun. I mean, not so much free because I played demo, but if you like playing a rogue or a warrior or something, you're probably gonna have a really good time. I'm expecting warriors to start pushing quite a bit up on the damage meters, not just because of the increase in gear, but there's so much cleave
Yeah.
in this tier.
Yeah, I mean,
Relevant
wars are
cleave as well that Warcraft logs aren't just going to try and put in the bin. Like, it all matters.
Yeah, I think the parsing rules that they've come out with or suggested are pretty downplaying the secondary target damage and like mostly focusing on the boss damage, which I don't really feel like that's.
But the secondaries were relevant.
I don't know. I actually don't have strong opinions on that because I really don't care what my parse ranking is.
Big number.
But it's
the only reason I don't agree with it, and we went over this on Go's podcast when I was on there a few nights ago. And it's like all of the stuff when you actually think about all of the fights in TOGC, arguably other than the burrowers in the last phase where you can just let them burrow so you can full focus the boss, every ad needs to be killed. Like everything on every fight needs to be taken out. So it's like it should all just count.
Yeah, I don't see why. I mean, do they still discount the dark matter on Algalon?
I'm not sure.
I believe so.
I feel like it doesn't when you kind of do need to kill it at the same time. I mean, it's like the Immortal Guardians too, right?
I think a lot of the rules are kind of designed around the assumption that people are going to try to cheese this. So, like, if you make Maiden of Torment or whatever the Jiraxxus summon, if you make damage to those count, it's like, okay, just don't kill the Nether Portal for 30 seconds. Let it spawn 5 of them, and then someone AoEs them. And that parse cannot be competed with in a normal kill because you have just literally so much more damage. So I think that Warcraft Logs is in a very difficult position to try to have a like scoring system that is both not cheesable and tries to also align itself with like what you would do in a normal raid. And it's like, as the fights get more complicated, that just becomes a more and more impossible task, which is why I really just like stopped caring in general what Warcraft Logs parsing rules were.
Yeah, they're just trying to limit how degenerate people are.
Yeah.
If you was to rank the bosses in TOC, what would you from best to worst? What order would you put them in? I'm guessing everyone's going to have faction champs at the bottom of that list. Actually, maybe not you, Simon, because you like AoE.
I liked Northern Beast because it's like you're locked in combat for a long time, and you have a very like you have to deal with 3 very different combat situations. So, like, you can't just change your spec or change your glyph to optimize for each one of them. You have to pick something that's good in a kind of variety of situations. And also, I like Northern Beast because when Ice Howl comes out and he does his massive crash, I just press Vanish and I don't get stunned. And then I keep DPSing him for 5 more seconds. That's my number 1.
I like Northern Beast. It would definitely be up there.
Yeah, I'm someone who likes... like having some relevant mechanics too. So yeah, the one I'm not too keen on is probably, unfortunately, Jiraxxus, just because it feels like he doesn't do anything. You just kind of beat him up.
I agree on that one. It's kind of just like, here's a bunch of mobs, and now you kill them, and I guess interrupt his spell sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it's
that one definitely doesn't feel like much.
Northern Beast, you have 3 different, as you're saying, 3 different bosses. There's Cleave, you get the double damage when Ice Howl gets stunned. On Twin Vouch, you have the light and dark thing. There's a lot of min-maxing you can do there with, getting the right one, understanding what's likely to come next, being the right position, picking up orbs, all that kind of stuff. And I think Faction Champs is fairly interesting. It just feels as though I kind of hope we do the AoE tactics. At the moment, it's like you pop all your cooldowns at the start, you kill like 3 of them, and you've won. But then you have to spend another 3 minutes killing all the health bars. So it's just kind of boring after that. So yeah, I hope the AoE thing comes meta. And Anubarak's just a good fight. Everyone gets tested to a degree. There's a lot of tank damage. DPS have to perform to meet the DPS checks. Healers have to not lose their mind on the last phase because it looks like everyone's dying. It's just a really good fight.
I really like
What you said
What I
about
like about,
Jiraxis, sorry, that was quite funny
Go ahead.
because it's. I think there's a bit of a delay. Sorry. Yeah, with our first run where we had the vast majority of people who hadn't done it before. Yeah, we might have had like 10 of us that have done it all on private servers, and then the rest who haven't. And we killed Beast. I think there was a couple of wipes, while people was working out what they needed to do. And then we killed Jiraxis, and people genuinely
One
thought that
shot.
I changed it to normal. Yeah, they was like, "Did you turn it on to
Yeah.
normal?" And I was like, "Oh no, that was definitely heroic."
That's the fight. That's Jiraxis. He just doesn't do enough. He doesn't kill you.
One
Unless
thing I
you
really like about
literally AFK'd
Anubarak,
on the stands. He wouldn't kill you.
what I like about Anubarak is like the last phase of it is very much focused on dealing a lot of single target damage, and the first phase of it is like if you can do multi-target damage, that's like really efficient and good for your raid. So like you want to balance your raid to have enough multi-target damage, AoE, whatever, to efficiently kill those burrowers. But if you make everyone be like an AoE focused spec or whatever, then you're not going to have enough single target to cleanly kill the boss in the final phase. So you have this like balance. It's like, I know if I play combat on that fight as a rogue, I can do much better overall damage output. But I know the rest of my raid's already doing that also. So I pick assassination usually when I was doing that on the PTR because I know my single target damage as assassination is just way higher. And like I'm near the bottom of the meter on overall damage dealt. But then when I look at boss damage, I'm like on top and it's like not even close. And it's like, it's really cool that you have to balance this. If you just had everyone full Zug AoE, you'd struggle so much in the last phase.
And that's what we had to do. And that, you're right. That was actually the fun part of it, was working out, right, Warlocks, if you're Affliction, we want you just focusing single target. We want the Enhancement Shamans cleaving, the Rep Paladins cleaving, yeah. And having to then like have who's multi-dotting. Is anyone going to multi-dot? Yeah, getting it so the ads died, a good 5 seconds before the next one comes,
Right.
just to allow the debuffs to drop. And then we know if they're dying that close together before the next ones come, we know that there's a lot of single target being done on the boss. Yeah. I like that. I like that balance as well. Oh,
nice. I don't know.
Did you not do it?
I did it up to the PvP fight, and that's all I did. I've just watched other people do it, but I kind of like the PvP fight would be my favorite if like I was doing it with a whole bunch of PvPers and we were actually doing like a bot PvP fight, like and treating it like that. Like that'd be kind of cool. Like I'll take on this guy. Like I don't know.
Yeah.
In concept, I like that one, but like I did, at the same time, like yeah, I don't know. I did these back in the day and don't like barely remembered anything. It wasn't really memorable for me, like, but I was also very pissed off about how much the gear had increased coming from all this work I did in Old War 5 days a week, 8 hours a day, like to get all that stuff down. Like, and so I was a little angry at this point in the game. And like this time around, like I'm excited for it, but I think it's a good thing that it's short and that we're going to have less to do because it gives you time to play other games, to chill out and be really excited for ICC. And like I think I'm okay with it. Like, but I do agree with you guys. I'd like it to be shorter, but like I'm like the time frame shorter.
Yeah, it's a good time to refuel, isn't it? Really. Yeah. Take raiding a little bit casual for them few months, making sure you're still clearing everything, obviously, but it's going to be so fast that then, yeah, like you said, you get to play other games and whatever else. But I think it's an interesting question. Probably Simon and Willie, as yous have cleared it on the PTR. Do you think you're going to get Insanity week 1 on 25 man?
We had a 49 attempt on the PTR with a single wipe on a Nubarak. I think I think my guild usually plays worse on the PTR. They take it a little less seriously than live, and I feel like that's probably true for a lot of people. But like the practice is there. If we can do a 49 on the PTR, I think there's above 50% chance we get a 50 attempt clear week 1 on live.
What about you, Willie?
We got we did multiple 50s back to back, so we better get it when it's
Yeah.
live.
Okay.
Oh yeah. You've got it then. Yeah. No, I'm a bit worried. I have a feeling we're going to do 49. I just have a feeling something's going to go
on
wrong.
the new Barack, it's some small thing goes wrong and you can wipe it.
And I think that's what's going to happen. I don't know why. I've just got this. I've got this feeling. We're prepared. We know what we're doing. You know, I'm confident that we can go in and one shot every boss. But I just think there's going to be something that happens and we lose it.
It really doesn't take much for that fight to go wrong, and we'll have had a bit of downtime between it, so it could be a 49. It'd be disappointing because -1 cape, and all the other stuff you get with it. But
I mean, if you've done multiple 50s on the PTR, I mean, that sounds like you're very well prepared.
Should be. Fingers crossed.
For us, for my guild, not a chance in hell. We did an hour and a half or about that time on the PTR. Not a chance in hell are we getting it on the first one. Like, I'll be just happy if we can get through with, less than 5 or 6 wipes. It's like...
Yeah, what the next threshold is at 45 to get extra tier tokens, right?
Yeah.
And then a little... I watched your video about it, Scotty.
Thanks, mate.
The trial is like... Actually, a very well put together video. Delivers exactly the information I need.
Well, you put enough out there. One of them's going to be all right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my experience too. Not everyone likes every video, but some of them, great.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
it's going to be good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for different reasons. Like, I think it's going to be great for it's going to be great for people to catch up or people to come back to the game that might have quit. Like, it's going to be a great catch up time. I think it's going to be good, but I'm kind of in the ICC waiting room and super excited for that. But for people that do want to catch up, just to let you know, Joyous Journeys is in the game currently. That is a 50% experience buff. You can turn it on and off and it in. And it's here until June 19th. So anybody wants to utilize that, I believe there's a Alterac Valley weekend that's going to hit around that same time too, and that's unbelievable how fast you could work up during those weekends. And then really the last thing, I don't know if we really have much to say about it, but speaking of Scotty J videos, probably, I don't know, I think this might have been your funniest video ever. And you've had a lot of bangers, but if you guys haven't watched his video on the community council, I'll have a link in the description. But your cutaways where you're like falling asleep in the chair and like different things where you're like, I mean, it's so good. But yeah,
well, I take a lot of thank you for saying that. Firstly, but yeah, I take most videos quite serious. Just try and deliver the information, try and be a little bit entertaining. But I never, the purpose of the video is never for it to be funny. But this video, I laid in bed. I woke up and was like, oh, there's an unlisted video, on Blizzard's channel of this community council. That's weird. Like, why has it not been really public and just put out to everyone? And I was laid there watching it, and I think I was about 5 minutes in and I was like, shit, I need to get my laptop out and make some notes while I'm watching this because this is awful. So, while I was watching it, I knew like I'm gonna have no choice but to turn this video into a joke because
what else can you turn it into?
Exactly.
So many things they just talked in a circle and didn't answer at all. RTF. Yeah, we've been talking about that. Okay. But they say we've been talking about it in like a long stint. Like, it's just like.
So the thing is as well, like I still try to be respectful towards the community council. If you watch that, you don't see me make fun of anyone on the community council. It's all directed at Blizzard, because
definitely.
It's not the community council's fault whatsoever. They went in there with some real, and that's what I said at the start of the video. Like, there's good questions. Some of the information is good. Like, they was asking really relevant stuff, but then the answers back from Blizzard was just like, I don't know. They might as well have just gone, yeah, we don't know. Next. No, we don't know. Next. Like, it almost felt, I honestly, I truly believe the timing of that, it just felt like they needed to be seen to be doing something in an open communication forum because of how they handled the token. I don't know why else they would have rushed out such a piece of shit, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think it was like an oh shit moment with the community, or with like the WoW token. But I have a question though. Okay, so Zyrene got hired to the Classic team. Why the heck do they not have him coming on to talk on those? Because he actually truly gets the game from a high, from a really smart level, like a really in-depth level. Like, why don't they get him to talk? Like, I just don't get it. It's weird.
Look, I don't understand a lot of things Blizzard does. And look, I stopped trying to understand, a long time ago. I was like, oh, they added the token. I think that's absolutely terrible. Okay, moving on with my day. I'm not going to try to really rationalize this very much, like, from their end.
So the thing is, right, and this is just a prime example, one very small section of that community council meeting that riled me up so much that, again, if I didn't try and make it comical, then it would have come across as probably aggressive. I'd much rather go the comical route. Because Agron put a post out saying about Valinir, didn't he? A couple of weeks ago for the PTR, he was very clear, you can get 10-man hard mode loot from this new currency, you can get 25-man loot from 10-man, and Valinir will only come from 25-man. And then when they're asked that in the community council, the guy from Blizzard goes, yeah, we've not decided on that yet. It's like, that one comment, I was like, you've had a blue post out announcing that it will not come from 10-man, and now you're saying we're still talking about it and we haven't decided it. Well, surely decide it and then put a blue post out. Don't put a blue post out and then start discussing it. It's mental.
Was that the question that Tim became obviously nervous? And Tim dresses well. Like he was like in all matching. Even his lanyard was like flowing, and it brought out his blue eyes, and we were like, geez. But he was styling, but he looked so nervous after he accidentally said something.
I picked up on it straight away, as in there's no way on earth did he he was so, like you say, he was carrying himself really well throughout all of it up until that point. And he almost lost himself in his own head. It was as if he said something and then he sat there looking at the camera, saying nothing, what felt like for a lifetime. And I could just picture in his head, like an episode of The Simpsons going into Homer's head, and he was just like, oh, shit, what have I said? I understand why that video is unlisted. No, exactly.
Yeah, and luckily you had it linked in your, because I went to find it, and it wasn't there, and I went to your link and I was like, unlisted. Interesting.
Yeah, and I'm normally really bad at that. I say, oh yeah, link in the description, and I normally forget.
You are. That's why I didn't look at the description.
Yeah, exactly. I am terrible at it, but this time I knew it had to go there. Because you wouldn't find it otherwise.
Video, it just means you have to have the direct link to the video to find it on YouTube. You're not going to find it in search results. You're not going to find it by looking at the channel page or anything. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you'd have to randomly go into the playlist on the World of Warcraft channel to find it. WoWhead are normally really quick. Obviously, the guys at WoWhead are amazing when it comes to news. And they were hours and hours behind me putting that out. And I think it's genuinely because it wasn't the easiest thing to find. You had to be looking at the blue tracker. And there weren't hardly any talk around it. There was no comments on it or anything. It was just a difficult one.
Also, a lot of people at that time were just obsessed and distraught over the token because that was a day or two ago.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Well, yeah. I mean, I think that wraps us up. If anybody has any final thing they wanted to say, but I think this has been a great show.
No, yeah. Thank you for inviting me. I've really enjoyed it.
All right. Well, let me go ahead.
I've absolutely had a blast. Thanks for inviting me, Bob, and nice to meet you, Scotty and Willie.
You too, mate.
I've seen your YouTube videos for years, literally.
Yeah, time has gone on. It's crazy, isn't it? But no, I appreciate that. It's always good to come on, Bob.
Awesome. All right, well, I'm gonna gonna close this out here real quick. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at WC Reloaded. You can follow the Mash Those Buttons Network at the Mash Network. If you want to send us an email, send it to wcrpodcast@gmail.com. If you'd like to join our new Discord, it's starting to get some conversation. You can ask show questions. There's all kinds of stuff. That is discord.me/Warcraft Reloaded, or you can go to the link in the description. If you want to help the podcast, our Patreon, everything is at warcraftreloaded.com. Also, the link for the Discord. Check it out. That's our website, and you can find every link that you need there. Yeah, that's gonna close us out. Where can we find you, Scotty?
Yeah, Scotty J on YouTube. I don't even stream on Twitch really anymore, but I do stream quite regularly actually now on YouTube. But yeah, just there.
Awesome. And how about you, Simon S?
You can find me at YouTube channel Simon Eyes Show. I also where I have like more of my refined videos, and I have a Simon Eyes Show TV, which is VOD uploads basically, and live on Twitch at the same handle, Simon Eyes Show on Twitch, doing live streams 5 or 6 days a week usually.
And your Discord is a really good source of information for rogues. Really good.
I try to do my best to make that a good resource, because you know what? I don't like answering the same question over and over and over on stream. I say the information's in the Discord. You gotta go into the Discord, find information about your talent specs, your bis lists, your what poison you should use. I try to cover as much as I can and have that information there for people.
Smart. And Willie, where can we find you?
Pretty much just on the YouTube, Willie. That's it. That's where I post my stuff. All kinds of WoW classic stuff, mainly.
And you have a new channel too, right?
Oh yeah. I haven't posted on that in a bit. It's called Lexicon. It's covering, I guess, kind of like the Was It Any Good Though videos I did for classes in WoW, but for the champions on League of Legends. But I'm also planning to branch out a little bit. Kind of been a bit slow with the uploads recently, because there's just been a lot going on in WoW with the whole hardcore thing, and with the servers announced, the token and so on. But yeah, I do have a second channel as well, which you'll find linked in my channel as well.
Awesome. And you can find me on Twitter at Blazin_Bob. That's BLAZZIN_BOB. Or you can find me and this show live on twitch.tv/BlazinBob. All right, guys, let's get out of here.
Thank you.
Good to see you folks.
Thank you.
And I'll see you guys next week. Thank you very much for checking out Warcraft Reloaded podcast. Make sure to like and subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss any future content.